Mm. Okay. There we go. Greetings. So we currently have 6 people in here. Oh, there's 5. There we go. One clicked off. And so for those 5 people that are here, we're gonna do like a cheesy opening thing. You know how they used to do in infomercials back in the 90s? They used to do this sort of fake intro thing where you're like, oh hey, I didn't see you there. Get ready, guys. We're gonna do this before everybody comes in. We're gonna do it. And so I want everyone out there to just kind of pretend that this was a casual moment. This is just a casual moment in our world that we're sharing here together. Welcome to 2022, by the way. There we are. Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. Well, since you're here, come on in and stay a while. Welcome to the School of Multidimensional Intuition. It is 2022, and we have shown up in rare style in a whole new form. And here we are. So once again, thanks for joining us. My name is Matthew, and this is the first, it might be the first live stream that I have done of 2022. And it is the first time that I have chosen to show myself on camera in my true form. And so I want everyone to just take a moment. This is your cringe moment. I want you to spam the chat with poop emojis, and then I'm going to tell you why I'm wearing this hat. But here we go. Boom. There it is. We're going to be doing readings. This is the reading hat today. Some people would call it a sorting hat. Only certain people are capable of wearing this, and I'll tell you guys why. I'm gonna tell you guys why, in a humorous and fun sort of way. Get ready. Here we go. So this morning I posted the link for this live stream. You know how like a lot of times, I know for those of you guys that get sort of guided by the collective consciousness, you'll have these moments in which you'll sort of wake up in the morning and you'll be like, oh, I know I need to do this thing. Let's do the thing. And so for me, it was doing a live. I woke up this morning and I was like, actually, I kind of knew last night. It was a thing. Like as I was going to sleep, some weird voice in my head was like, it's time for you to do a live stream. And it's one of those moments for me, you guys, where I kind of cringe internally as a person that does show up publicly on a number of levels semi-regularly. It's never a sort of, it's never a joyous, enthusiastic thing that we're doing. It's always kind of self-deprecatory and a little bit awkward, and hopefully rather endearing. And so I had this moment this morning where I was like, okay, guys, I'm going to do this live stream, and I sort of put this thing out there. And this is how you can tell when you've actually triggered just individuals, or you've sort of, you know, ruffled the feathers or raised the hackles of the other energetic beings in this world. Because lo and behold, as soon as I posted my live stream announcement for today, just somebody within our community who will remain nameless took it upon themselves to send me a private message over Facebook and sort of school me, correct me about how I present myself publicly as a psychic and a teacher and a healer. And I was cautioned by this person to not use the words weird, to not use the words awkward, and to not refer to my students as such as well. And so there it is. Hopefully you can see the whole hat. Thank you, Liz. And so it was one of those moments in this world where you realize the level to which you, just by being yourself, just by being the version of me that I am, making my strange little announcements and saying, hey guys, we're going to do this weird thing today, you get to notice the way that will trigger other people. And so I had this really fun encounter this morning, having to sit there and go, okay, really, you don't like the way I talk, you don't like the way I speak about what I do. Thank you for taking it upon yourself to school me and correct me from your very, very high horse. And so, you know, who knows? I doubt this person will ever tune into any of my lives or groups or anything again, because it was one of those times, and I know everybody has them. You have that time when someone says a thing and you're like, excuse me, what? And for me, that was one of those moments. And so as we begin 2022, we stay completely real, completely open, completely transparent, and this is me. And so if I want to call myself weird, if I enjoy the self-deprecatory process of, you know, kind of downplaying the oddities and the weirdness and the manner in which I communicate online, I'm going to continue to do it. That's how we roll. And 2022 is, for many of us, the year of complete and absolute authenticity. So I'm going to say a very, very strong thing here on this live stream, and then we're going to switch the frequency. If you're one of the people out there who seems to think that as a spiritual being, as a healer and a professional psychic, that you have the right to police other people's methods in which they communicate and present themselves publicly, if you think you're one of those people out there, go fuck yourself. Thank you. Now we're going to move on. There we go. Thanks, everybody. That's a rare moment of brutal realness and honesty here on our live stream. And so there we go. Now that we got that out of the way, let's clear the space. Thanks for joining me, everybody. Good to see your faces. And for everyone here, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, let's clear the energy around us and just sort of let everything go. Like I said, this is the first live stream of 2022. And we're going to be doing some readings today. This is also one of the rare times in which I do a live in which you can ask me literally any question. Every now and then you'll see people do these AMA kind of videos. I decided to do an AMA, and so we are answering any and all questions today. I mean this very, 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 very sincerely. And so we're going to be doing a little bit of an AMA. We're going to be answering some awkward and cool and weird and possibly triggering questions. Who knows if anyone will even show up and ask them. We're also going to be doing some readings. And so if you're one of the people that's here for readings, thanks for hanging out as well. They'll be mixed in with other stuff. But yeah, let's just take a few moments. We're going to wave this Palo Santo around. And if you're one of the 16 people watching us from this strange corner of the world, wherever you are, let us know where you are. What city are you in? What state are you in? Maybe what planet you're on? Who knows? Let us know how you're doing. And so, okay, we're feeling pretty good. I think I'm going to leave the hat on. Is that okay with you guys? How do you guys feel about that? I think we're going to be doing readings in this all day. But anyway, just a couple announcements. First off, as you guys know, this is 2022, and we're going to be talking a little bit about just some of the weird things that are going to be happening probably in this year for many of us on the Earth plane, but also within the energy system, within what we would call just the multi-dimensional, non-physical energy body, which is going to be experiencing rapid and monumental changes, especially what we could call maybe in the first half of 2022, where we're going through a little bit of a pre-scheduled activation window in which a number of people on the Earth plane are going to be kind of nudged. In some cases, we might call them forced. In some cases, we might call them pushed in somewhat of a more serious way into new roles, into new aspects of your mission, into new stuff that you're going to be doing this year. And so for each of us, that comes with a little bit of a jumping off point and a moment in which you will choose to kind of step off what we might call a multi-dimensional cliff in terms of your awareness and your understanding of who you are and what you're capable of. And so things are going to be changing. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about, and as much as I love like the awkwardness of this hat, it fits horribly. So I'm gonna take it off for a while, and I promise I'm gonna put it back on when we do reading. So the hat will come back, everybody. The hat will be coming back. But anyway, in the meantime, cool. We have some people from San Antonio. Thank you, North Carolina. Good to see you. I know the 10-gallon cap, right? It's like I genuinely want to keep wearing it, but it's maybe I just need to like adjust it because now I have weird hat hair, and if you know me, I'm like one of those people that gets like really, really self-conscious, and so. That's why I never watch my own, you know, here, we're going to put it on trucker style. I'm just going to very, very lightly put it on. There we go. And we'll do it a little bit to the side. So we're going to do it trucker style. Anyway, thank you. Thank you, Joanne from Ireland. Absolutely. Thank you. I think I will. It's like an awkward thing, but I'm going to force myself to sort of revel in that and to just hold on to it. And so as we get started, guys, we're going to do a little bit of a throat opener, which for those of you guys that are watching the live stream will know that it is equally for me as it is for you. And so why do I do sort of energy work or kind of energy openers or the process of connecting with groups like this over live streams? Because we will find in the coming months and in the coming years of our experience that when we join together within that group vibration and take certain moves, make certain vibrations, allow certain emotions to come in, people experience it on just in a much more advanced level. The energy reaches us deeper, and it's sort of like a crowd of people all tuning into the same radio station or turning on the same song at the same time. You can imagine if a whole group of people turned on one song at the same time and played it out loud, a lot more than just those people would feel it and they would hear it. And so we're going to do a little bit of a throat energy opening here today. And so if you're just joining us in the YouTube realm or on Facebook, I have no idea what's going on Facebook, by the way. Facebook might not even be on for me. I will check it in a moment. But in the meantime, let's just kind of focus your energy wherever you may be in this world. If you're one of the people that's driving your car right now, you can keep your eyes open. But if you're one of those other people that's hanging out with me in this multi-dimensional realm, just take a few breaths. We're going to close our eyes together, and we're going to take 3 deep breaths in as a group, as a unit. A lot of you guys that have done this with me before know exactly what we're going to do. We're going to vibrate, and we're going to tone, and we're going to allow the energy body to open up, especially because we're going to be doing some readings in a little bit. And so here we go, guys. For those of you that are here, if you want, you can even just take your fingertips and kind of place them right at the base of your throat, that little notch. Some of you guys can see that on my screen, that little notch right at the base of your collar or top of your collarbone, just kind of connect in with that place right there. And I'll be doing it for you guys, those of you guys that cannot reach out and do this, or those that are driving, or those that just want to receive. So we're going to put one fingertip over on your throat. And as a group, as a unit, let all your breath out. Let's take a deep breath in 3, 2, 1. Hold it. And release. Let that breath go all the way down. Good job. We're going to do 2 more, and then we're going to create a tone, a sort of just this note, this vibration that emits from your body. Here comes breath number 2. Some of you guys are going to feel a little lump or a little knot right at the base of your throat. That's energy opening up. And for some of you guys, this is very new. For others, you know exactly what we're doing. And so let's do breath number 2. Close your eyes. Let's take a deep breath in 3, 2, 1. Hold it. And release it all the way down. Very, very good, everybody. Okay, if you're still with me, we're going to do 1 more breath. And right after we hold that breath for a quick moment, as you let it out, we're going to vibrate. You're going to allow your body to create a tone or a note. It goes kind of like, so we're going to create that vibration here. One of the things I notice when we do this on live streams or on YouTube, oftentimes the sound will cut, and I'll make this tone, and YouTube or StreamYard will sort of cut it and kind of compress the the volume. So you might only hear a little bit of it. But for those of you guys that are participating, what we're doing is we're sending energy directly into your throat chakra. The reason for doing so is to allow just a greater wavelength of communication, a greater ability to speak your truth, and just more willingness to be seen and heard on the earth plane. It's very important for 2022. So here we go. Let's close our eyes. Let all your breath out. Take a deep breath in 3, 2, 1. Hold it and follow me. After you receive that energy, just simply reach over to your own throat and pop that energy out. Sometimes you'll pull it out like a string. Sometimes you'll kind of move your hands in and kind of like dig around a little bit. For those of you guys that are willing to experiment, to begin to physically gesture, to begin to start to actually create tangible physical movements in the earth plane, you're going to be affecting non-physical energy in a on just a much greater level, which is one of the, I would say, the primary kind of activations that we're going to be receiving in the year of 2022. Many other people have already been receiving and working with this sort of forms of energy, but as we move longer or further and further along in this sort of awakening journey, people are going to be activating in groups, massive groups, and they're going to start to move through states of change and just activation in shocking periods of time. For many of us that watch this live stream and some of the other things that I do, for many of the people that have worked with me in both our groups on Patreon, in our classes, in our multidimensional training groups, you're already going to be aware of this, and you're already going to be using this energy on some level in your own way. For those of you guys that are just tuning in and are coming to the stage in your journey where you're starting to hear about energy healing, you're starting to hear about, new abilities. You're starting to hear people talk about how, everyone on earth is psychic, and we're in the lifetime in which you get to develop your own version of what that is. For those of you guys that already know about that, well, then you'll know why you're here. But for those of you guys that seemingly end up just stumbling upon this live stream, we're entering the stage in which those things are about to become very, very real for each and every one of us on a much greater level. And so the more energy, the more gesture, the more effort that we put into moving non-physical energy, the better. And so for many of us, one of the reasons why when we do tones or when we connect kind of vocally over social media, one of the reasons why that works is because you can consider the act of toning, the act of singing, your voice as one of the, what we might even call fourth density training wheels for the manner in which we communicate and send energy. A lot of people have talked about this. It's kind of old news by now, but one of the hallmark experiences of existing within what we would call the fourth density frequency, which is where us as humans are kind of moving into right now. One of the hallmarks of that is that we begin to communicate on entirely different levels. We begin to understand that, and I know this is almost like a spiritual platitude by now, but we are really truly connected in ways that are absolutely going to blow our minds as we go through this human journey. For even right now, people are starting to open up to what is a very, very true and real form of telepathy. And so when we talk about what's activating in 2022, well, telepathic communication is one of the foundational methods through which humans, through which consciousness communicates all over our galaxy, all over the universe, whatever kind of label you want to add to it, our realm. For many of us, as soon as we begin to leave or sort of move beyond the vibration of third density, our communication changes dramatically. For those of you guys that have had out-of-body experiences, for those of you guys that have even been on plant medicine in really vibratory states, you'll have had probably on some level this form of non-physical communication, whether it was with yourself, whether it's with the higher self, whether it's with other people. The stages in which, or the stage in which the telepathic activation comes is literally here now. And so that said, before we go on and do some readings, we're going to do one more strange and awkward activation. For those of you guys that didn't tune in the beginning, I did a little bit of a disclaimer as to why I'm wearing this hat and talked a little bit about this morning. And so we got a little weird. And so we're sort of keeping the weird vibe, and we're moving forward into another stage of activation, which we're going to be doing with this group. And so along with the communication-based activation energy that's opening up in the year of 2022 for many of us on the earth plane, having to do with how we communicate, how we send energy, there's also another place opening on the body, which I have talked about many times before. People that know me, they're going to know, I talk about it constantly. Oh, thank you. Somebody out there, I feel your thought forms. You just thought of Bindu chakra. No, it's not that. Thank you. Another person just, oh, wow, I love you guys. Another person just said, is he going to talk about the thymic chakra? No, actually, it's not that one either. One of the other places on our body that as we go through collective chapters of awakening, we need to start paying attention to it. Some of you guys are going to be like, what? But get ready. It's the navel chakra. Why would we work with the navel chakra? What does that have to do with anything, Matthew, right? For those of you guys that have worked with me and many others on the earth plane, I'm definitely not the only person working with this energy, but a lot of people out there regard your navel chakra as what we might call the back door to the third eye. And so, is there a back door to our chakras? Yes, there is. Many of them are joined and they connect in kind of external and internal ways. Each chakra, well, not each one, but many of them have a little bit of like a partner effect with other energy centers in the body, very much like the meridians. For those of you guys that are familiar with the meridian system, the chakras also have a little bit of a partnering effect. And so, as we go through ways of activation in this human life, one of the things that takes place is those sort of joining points between odd pairs of chakras or energy centers in the body start to activate. Now, one of the most common ones that pretty much I think everyone works with at some point, whether we know it or not in this life, is the linkage between our solar plexus and our throat chakra. Other people have heard me talk about it. Other people have experienced, or many of us have experienced it. But the solar plexus and the throat chakra have a very interesting relationship. Even though there's a myriad of other energy centers in between those two, they have this strange interdependent relationship, sort of like the spleen meridian and the stomach meridian, kind of like the gallbladder and the thank you, the gallbladder and the liver. And so anyway, before I go on and on about that, we're going to do a little bit of an activation within the navel chakra. The purpose for that, why would we do an activation into the navel chakra, Matthew? Well, it helps you actually open your third eye, number one. But number two, it operates within the realm of instinct and knowing. For those of you guys that are interested in pranic healing, for those of you guys that have received pranic healing or knowledgeable of the pranic healing modality, they also talk about the navel chakra as literally the center for instinct and knowing. So for me, when I was going through my weird activation journey, which a lot of people heard me talk about this in like 2016 and 17, it was like there was this period where I would just go into a meditation and try to feel my chakras, and I would actually hear a weird voice singing the name of the chakra. And so I've talked about it in other classes and stuff, but it's a fun thing to talk about now. And it sounds like a very cool thing now. But at that stage of my life, I actually thought I was crazy. And it was something that at that stage, I had no method of explaining to the world. And so the weird thing is when I was going through this sort of, early stage awakening process in 2016, it appeared as though there were beings and there were energies, there were versions of me that were attempting to show me and sort of educate me about energy centers and the meridians through this very strange kind of organic process. And for me, it was like I would go into a meditation, and when I would, sorry, there's something in my eye here, weird moment on camera. I would go into a meditation and I would kind of hold my energy downward, kind of toward the root. At that time, I was following a group known as Oneness University, which is, I don't think they're really around anymore, but they taught me a lot prior to becoming what kind of seems like a weird cult now, although maybe they were then. But anyway, at that stage of my journey, I was kind of working with this group of people from India, and they would do these meditations, and they would sort of hold their energy in the chakras and just observe it. And for me, the way I actually, in hindsight, the way I actually learned what some of the vibration of the chakras were is that I would go into that meditative state, and it was very, very, very noticeable when I would get up to the throat, the third eye, and I think it was the sacral chakra, but it would be this thing, you guys, where I would kind of take a breath in and I would pull my energy upward to the third eye, and this voice would go, Agni. And it was not only this weird sing-songy voice, it was like bells. There would be bells that would sort of ring with it. And so as a mental health worker at the time, working, full-time, helping clients on just a huge level at that stage of my life, I had no mechanism through which to explain that to the world. So for me, it was just a thing that I kind of held inside. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to kind of vibrate an area of the energy body, much like that experience that I had. What I found is when we do this in individual sessions, when we do this in group stuff, once again, it creates just a whole different level of connectivity within the energy body. And so we're going to be doing that. For those of you guys that want to join me, you can just very gently, you can take your palms, either one, and we'll just place them above the navel. Some of you guys will choose to make contact with your belly button. Other people will just kind of place your hands gently outside your belly. And so what we're going to do is we're going to use a capsule phrase for the navel chakra. It's one of the kind of the cornerstone elements of the work that we do in the School of Multidimensional Intuition, is that we have been given sort of phrases similar to mantras, but what they really are is a little bit like a key or a vibration that, when sort of emitted from the human body, allows energy centers to sort of bloom, to open, to activate. It sort of vibrates energy and causes it to spread outward. And so we're going to vibrate the navel chakra to assist everyone here with just your instinct, your ability to react appropriately at a moment's notice, your ability to receive information into the third eye and correctly identify or correctly discern the visual elements of that energy. The navel chakra, being the back door to the third eye, is not so much about visual connectivity. What it is you could think of it like a venting pathway, an additional kind of an additional doorway through which energy spreads upward through the energy body and allows you to focus. It allows you to use the third eye energy center on just a deeper level. So anyway, I've been talking a lot about it. We're gonna do it right now. So once again, everybody, place your hands over your belly button, just real gently. For some of you guys that are just tuning in, you're gonna be like, dude, this is so weird. What are we doing? We're doing energy work live over YouTube with a huge group of people that's going to have a massive effect over your well-being today. So if you're interested, we'll just take our hands, place them over the belly. Just like we did before, we're going to take 3 deep breaths. On the third breath, as we let it out, we're going to use a capsule phrase. Get ready, you guys. Here it is. It's do, chi, ro. Do, chi, ro. I'm going to put it in the chat so everybody knows what we're doing. Do, chi, ro. And so hopefully that'll show up in the chat there. And so the reason why we're using that is because it causes the navel chakra specifically to vibrate and open. And so anyway, I've like talked this thing to death, everybody. Let's officially do it. Yes, we will get to your questions and comments and readings as well in a short time. For now, tune into that energy center at your belly button. Take a few moments to connect your energy. Close your eyes if you're willing and just sort of connect inward. Understand that as you do this, there's a group of people all over the world in their own room, in their own place, some of them in their own cars, connecting in with you and feeling the energy of your instincts, of the knowing within you. Feel the energy of those abilities that allow you to react instantaneously in a moment's notice in the most appropriate way. Understanding energetic stimulus, new information, and allowing it to move upward into the third eye. Understand you're capable of doing that. So we're going to take 3 breaths and then we're going to go do, chi, ro. Here we go. Let all your breath out. Breathe in with me. 1 group, 1 unit. 3, 2, 1. Hold it. Focus your energy at the navel. And release. Let that energy drop out, kind of like water when you pull the plug on the sink or the bathtub and it flows out. We're going to do that 2 more times, and on the third one, we're going to use the capsule phrase. So once again, close your eyes, tune into the belly button itself. Take a deep breath in with me in 3, 2, 1. Hold it. And release. Let that breath go all the way down. Sometimes as you exhale, you'll kind of wave your body around in a little bit of a wavy way. It's sort of like a balloon, letting all the breath and energy out. Now we're going to do that 1 more time, guys. And as we exhale, do, chi, ro. Here we go. Connect with your navel chakra. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath in 3, 2, 1. Do, chi, ro. Let's do that 2 more times, guys. Take a deep breath in. Do, chi, ro. One more time, connect with your navel chakra. You'll get a bunch of memories, little pictures of people from last week, emotions from other stages in your life. Let's do that one more time. Take a deep breath in. Do Chiro. Thank you. When you're ready, just reach down to that navel chakra and simply pull it out. Pull that energy out, flick it, cut it, whatever you need to do. Gestures of disconnection are incredibly, incredibly helpful. And so thanks, you guys. Good job. Let us know how you feel. Sometimes people feel that one really big. Sometimes you'll just feel a little bit of a bubble move through your body. For those of you that even kind of halfway tune in when we receive or move energy like that, it's very, very reliable that at the very least, you will often feel this sort of like a settling within the self. Something kind of quiets, something sort of lets go. And so thanks, everybody. Good job. A couple quick announcements. I believe it's January 22nd in the Blue Flame Collective Patreon group, which I am incredibly grateful for those of you guys that continue to show up every month. We're moving into yet another stage of just new processes, new people, new healings. And so on January 22nd, my wife, Honora, is going to be doing a very special group activation process and just connecting with the Patreon group in her own way. She's going to be taking the group through a very, very unique and just self-styled process, a protocol for activating elements of our light body, elements of your energy that exists outside of this human shell. And so for those of you guys that are interested in going through just a very, very unique energetic healing process, Honora is going to be doing our Patreon group this month. That's on Saturday, January 22nd at 1 p.m. Pacific and 4 p.m. Eastern. And so I look forward to seeing you guys there. For those of you guys that want to join, I'm going to try to put the link in the chat, which I will be doing soon. But you can just check us out on Patreon, and it's the Blue Flame Collective. And so, yeah, thank you for those of you guys from the Blue Flame Collective that continue to show up and continue to be a part of this strange journey. Like I said earlier, 2022 is the year of telepathic, non-physical communication. And I almost messed up and said another word in there, non-human, non-physical communication. That's the next stage of it. And one of the ways in which we will be fundamentally redefining our understanding of what we might call extraterrestrial contact, and just the process through which that takes place in our life, the manner through which extraterrestrial energies communicate with those on Earth, the manner in which we have those experiences. It's not that it's fundamentally changing, but our vibration is fundamentally changing, and the way in which we as humans are going to be processing and experiencing that energy is definitely changing. I myself am a living example of that. So we'll probably get into a little bit of that later if the feeling strikes me. It's always a little bit vulnerable talking about that stuff. For me, one of the things that kind of shocked me in the very beginning of my journey here, as you know, whether you want to call it a healer or an intuitive or just a multi-dimensional being doing this thing with everyone, is that when I came into this soul group, a lot of people were talking about how this is extraterrestrial and that's not. And if you have an experience with ETs, these things have to happen. And if these things don't happen, then it's not real. And so I got a lot of kind of weird conditioning and kind of a lot of odd discouragement when I kind of first arrived to the stage of my journey here, in which I realized that there was absolutely some real, very real, and it's always a cringe moment for some people that end up watching my channel, but very, very real extraterrestrial energies that were connecting with me in a very, very physical way. And so I think just one of the things that is somewhat damaging to people in our community is that we will attempt to force other people to view their experiences through our sort of own filters. And I'm definitely not one of those people that, goes out there telling you that, your experience was fake and, everything that you believe was real was not real. It was just a dream that you had. And even if in many cases they are, because that's also a part of the journey, and the ways in which we communicate with extraterrestrial non-physical energies is in dreams that are representative and symbolic of that type of interaction that in many cases will take place on a fourth density astral plane or through kind of frequency entrainment. And so anyway, before I go on and on, it happens in many forms, and I was sort of conditioned early on when I started doing this work to not talk about those elements of my journey. And I think also one of the things I discovered was that, I was experiencing it different from everyone else, because none of the things that were said to be, traumatizing people and to be, creating havoc on the earth plane, strangely enough, I seem to just have encounters with some of those beings, and the vibration and the energy and the experiences that I had was completely in contrast to what other people were saying. And so for me, it's always been a little bit of a gray zone that I have sort of dived into a little bit and talked about key things, and then I've sort of stepped out of it, because it is kind of it's a murky road right now for those of us in this community that are attempting to speak genuinely and authentically about our experiences. And you will find that every single time you do, there's some layer of attack, there's some layer of projection, there's some layer of energy that gets kind of thrown upon you that, for me, I just didn't really need that. I think that I had a couple experiences very early on that I knew were absolutely real. I was one of those people that when I started to have strange out of body experiences, and beings started visiting me when I would wake up in the morning, and I think I've talked about it many times, but I had never been educated on the nature of energetic anatomy or anything like that. And I would wake up in the morning and like you guys heard me say earlier, I would hear this weird sound in my head when I would sort of bring my my awareness to areas of the body. There were days when I woke up and I touched my arm and I would feel every meridian within it. And I felt the emotions and the energy and the experiences and the smells and the tastes of the energy that was in there. And, for me at the time, it literally blew my mind. I had no way to talk about it. I did not know any method through which to explain those things to the world. And so anyway, some of you guys will love the strange angular rant. Some of you guys will get lost in it, but we're at the stage in which many of those things are starting to become more real for a lot of us. Thank you, Cassandra, by the way, for posting the link to the Patreon group. So that's on January 22nd, coming up, Saturday, January 22nd. I hope you guys will join us, and yeah, thank you. Susan Worthington has a question. Thank you, Susan Worthington. You have effectively pulled me out of my weird angular rant about energetic activation and the changes in extraterrestrial contact protocols. I promise we'll go back into that later, you guys. There is a very real group of beings from, here we go. I guess we're opening the can of worms before we get to your question. There's a very real literal group of beings from what we may call Orion, who is on an absolute campaign right now to connect with, to redefine, and to just evolve on the earth plane our understanding of what we may call an Orion group or beings from Orion. We'll get into that in just a little bit, which will be a cringe moment for some of you guys as well. In the meantime, thank you, Susan Worthington. She has a really, really good question. Thanks for showing up. She says, when I unlocked the naval energy, boosted up my midline and stopped and pulsing at the base of my skull. Would that mean there's a blockage there to investigate? In some cases, that is definitely possible. In some cases, it's sort of like just a little clog that'll get stuck in a straw, when you're trying to like drink a smoothie or something and you can't really pull it all the way through. And so I think on some level, yeah, that could definitely be an energy blockage, but they're also incredibly common. I have had many within my system. It's a very common thing. I would look into the thought form or the energy or the emotions that you receive when you perceive that blockage. Depending on where it is within the body, depending on what shows up when you think of it, that's going to give you a little bit more information about if that would be, a blockage of energy from outside of you, Every now and then, it'll just be a little bit of a clog within your system, something that could be coughed out. And that's a metaphorical way of saying, you know, released. And in some cases, when it does move back up there, you'll, or you'll use it. Actually, I will give you a capsule phrase in a moment that can help you move that energy out. But it's incredibly common. And if I seem oddly distracted, Susan is because I'm actually trying to view that energy within your body, which sometimes is a weird thing to do over social media. But anyway, here's one thing you can do to help you move that energy upward through the throat and into the region of what we might call the third eye, the causal chakras, the bindu chakra, and just the sort of architecture that lines the upper chakras. There's a capsule phrase you can use for that. It goes like this. Hankaro. Hang Ka Ro. I'm going to put it in the chat as well for anyone that wants to try it in their own time. It is one of the hallmarks or the cornerstone tools that we will use in the clearings that I do literally every day, for better or worse. Hang Ka Ro is a capsule phrase that moves energy along the human bottleneck, what we call the throat chakra from the, here, I'm gonna move your comment off the screen here. Thank you, Susan Worthington, by the way. I sincerely appreciate showing up. Hang Ka Ro is a throat chakra capsule phrase that moves energy upward and downward through the throat chakra. I think technically it also goes frontward and backward, but what I have seen it do and what other people have observed it do is that it opens up the pathway. It doesn't necessarily push energy in any specific direction, but Hang Ka Ro actually does vibrate with energy that's cycling out of the body. So you can imagine it like almost a vibratory tool that you would use to help this area of the body flow and release. Not direction oriented, but more time oriented. Things that we've been cycling out, things that we're putting behind us. And so we're gonna do this as a group. Once again, some of you guys will be like, what? Other people will literally feel the energy opening up. And so for those of you guys that want to join me, where is it? I think I put it in the chat. There it is, Hang Ka Ro. Okay, and so just kind of tune in for a moment. Susan Worthington, this is also to help the energy move upward. If you choose, you can close your eyes with me, or you can also just receive this vibration. We're just going to do one breath, and then I'm going to send it out, and you can join me in Hang Ka Ro. Here we go. Let everything out. Take a deep breath in 3, 2, 1. Hang Ka Ro. Very good, everyone. We're going to do it one more time. There's a little bit of energy hanging off the end. Some of you guys could feel that. Here we go. Let's do that one more time. Let all your breath out. And we're doing Hang Ka Ro. Here we go. Everything out. Deep breath in. Hang Ka Ro. Very good. When you're ready and you're done with that, just let that breath out. Kind of grab it up in the back of your throat like a, and just kind of expel it from your body. Some of you guys will sneeze when we do that. Some of you guys will cough when we do that. If you're really moving energy from the throat, every now and then you'll get this weird phantom dryness that shows up in your throat. It's a really good example of just throat chakra energy that's moving. You'll get this sort of dryness as it moves upward and outward. And some of you guys will want to cough. In other cases, though, and thank you, Susan, I see your comment. In other cases, you know, we might be working with completely different energy, so maybe you'll feel that differently. But anyway, thank you. Thanks for being here. It's all good. Yeah, I appreciate you. So thanks for hanging out, you guys. We're going to get to some of your questions, and then we're going to do some readings here. Good to see you. Thanks, everybody. For those of you guys that were with us in the beginning, you will notice that there was like a weird moment of energy release. For those of you guys who tuned in later, it was fun. I got to tell somebody to F off on the live stream. And you will notice, for those that have been hanging out, it's like when we move energy later on, everything passes through. And so, yeah, thanks for that, guys. Fearless says, nice pre-Adamite hat. It is, dude. You guys are figuring out my true identity. In the beginning, I was like, this is the real me. We're gonna get totally authentic, and I'm just gonna rock this weird lame hat because I was shamed for being weird earlier by another healer. That's why. It's like, it was the dumbest thing I've encountered in a very long time. But anyway, thank you, Susan Worthington says, freeing up energy in the roof of my mouth. That's very, very cool. For those of you guys that also want to tune in to the chakra in the roof of your mouth, what would that do? Because sometimes we'll feel that energy move up there. Some practices, they'll tell you to kind of press your tongue up to the roof of your mouth. Why would they be doing that? Why would they tell you to touch your tongue up there? Well, there's actually yet another energy center. Some people call it a secondary chakra. Some people call it the Talu chakra. I do not know what its actual name is. I don't know if it actually matters, but that is one of the internal, what we might call connection points, or maybe another word would be flow connections. It's sort of like a joining point for energy as it rises up through, from what I can tell, and I could be totally wrong, but from what I can tell, it is one of the places in which what we might call the traditional chakra body merges with another one of what we might call the traditional energy body circulatory systems, that being the nadial complex, or what other people call the nadis, which is what we might call the chakra circulatory system. And so the chakra right at the roof of the mouth, for those of you guys that want to kind of press your tongue up there, it's not necessarily location specific. Some people believe you have to pull your tongue way to the back of the roof of your mouth. Other people say, no, touch right behind the, your front teeth. The fact that you're intending to connect with it and you're kind of moving your energy up there is the most important thing. But that is the Talu chakra. And it's actually very helpful when you're toning, when you're meditating, when you're doing Qigong. For those of you guys in our training programs that have done Qigong with us, we will do carrying the moon, which is a very common movement, and holding your breath and touching the roof of your mouth with your tongue on the way out seems to kind of pull pressure, and it pulls energy downward along, I believe that's the conception vessel, which is one of the central channels that moves right down the front of the body. Other people refer to it as the Hara line. Some people call it the midline. It's actually, I believe it's a collection of both the primary channels, conception and governing vessel. But anyway, thank you. Thank you, Susan. I appreciate your feedback live in the moment. Thanks for being here and for doing this stuff along with us and trying out these strange things. I appreciate it. Thank you, Multi Haystack. I pray very sincerely that you receive any kind of healing that you need right now, whether that be just, grace, forgiveness, lack of inflammation, the release of old thought forms, whatever it needs in your life. I mean that very sincerely, by the way. Absolutely. Thanks for even showing up here. And for everybody else, we're going to do some readings. I'm just going to get to a couple other questions here. Hopeful Art says, thanks for all the info. I can understand it can be quite a vulnerable situation for you. Have you ran across anyone else who has had an encounter with the same Dogon warrior type ETs as you? I have, actually. The way that I became willing to talk about it on a greater level. It's funny because I never referenced this dude in my live. Some people know people that know the whole history. And so anyway, I'm not going to go on a whole rant about that, but I first encountered these beings in December of 2017. Honestly, I tell you exactly when. It was December 30th of 2017. And other people have heard me talk about this, a group of very tall, black skins, mostly humanoid looking beings that showed up and did a ritual with me. It's the kind of the origin point from where I started to develop the scalar toning modality, which for those of you guys that know, it was literally just a thing I heard other beings doing. I heard this sound and I copied it. And so the only other really notable person I've heard talk about these beings, for better or worse, is Corey Good. Which, love him or hate him, he kind of gave me the courage to talk about them on a greater level, which was at a much different stage in my journey where I think a lot of us, people in a different, placement, in a different, social arrangement will sort of help us confirm things at that time. It doesn't have anything to do with my opinion on him now, but what I can tell you is that he described very, very accurately who they are and what they are and the way they moved. And yeah, it's a race of beings that I believe is connecting with many, many people on the earth plane. I believe that part of their duty and part of what they are called to do is help us awaken those shamanic abilities and those frequencies within ourselves. I think the beings that are connecting from those places are actual soul aspects of you and me, beings that connect with us throughout the web of multidimensional timelines because they're us. And so, honestly, I've had a number of experiences with them. I've only heard, Corey's version of that, which honestly, it's like I have said many things about him during this journey, but to me, that was a real thing. And so, anyway, I know it's always awkward having stuff on the screen, so we're gonna move that off. But thank you for your question, Hopeful Art. My experiences were well. I'll just tell you, they have gotten deeper and deeper, or they had gotten deeper and deeper for a period of time, which I think was started in 2017, and then I did not encounter this energy again until I would say, I want to say between February and March of 2020. In which a number of strange things happened. Other people have heard me talk about it on lives, but it was like certain emotional events would take place. Certain just things would happen. In some cases, they were very intense. In other cases, it was literally just me doing a meditation. And it was like their energy would show up and it would just do this thing and then it would leave. In one particular encounter that I had, which I will talk about very quickly, some of you guys have heard me rant about this before, I think on the Patreon group, but I had an encounter. This is going to sound so dumb. Get ready, everybody. It's going to sound really cheesy. With a dog. I had an encounter with a dog near my old house in Los Angeles. And it was one of those moments, a very strange moment in my life, when this dog just looked at me and I shared a moment with him. And I know that sounds cringe to some of you guys. You're like, oh God. But I shared a moment with this dog walking around the street. I looked him in the eye and it was like, I knew that there was just an exchange. I went home and by the time I got in my house, I collapsed on the floor in tears. And it was like, I just put my face down on the bed and I just cried and cried and cried. And I did not know why. And as I had my face down on the bed, this sounds so cheesy and creepy, you guys. It was like someone came through and pushed my head into the bed. And for a split second, it was almost like I was able to sort of fight against it. It was like I tried to push back, but for some reason I didn't. And I went all the way through. As I came through, what I observed and what I felt was myself coming through a pool of water. It was like my face submerged from the water, and around me, it was almost like I was in a tub. And around me were what appeared to be a group of women, like kind of old grandma type women. And I believe there were like rose petals in the water, or some sort of flower petal. There was matter within the water, and I was emerging from this tub. My face was coming out of it, and as I came out of this tub of water, all these sort of women, these beings were singing. For those of you guys that have done individual clearings with me and have gone through what I call this sort of chakra rethreading process, where we sort of sing out all the capsule phrases to each and every one. I believe that is what they were doing. And it was like I came out of this water and I heard them doing this like, they were doing this sort of sing-songy kind of chanty thing. From that moment, as I sort of came out of the water, it was like I was immediately transported, and I was taken to sort of, or I just appeared, I guess, within the center of this circle. And so within this circle was what I believe was a very, very old man. He was like a very old being, one of these dark-skinned shamanic beings. In my opinion, they look very human, but also not human. I know there were others with them that were also very insectoid looking, but not insectoid. They were still very human, but just very different joints. I think some of them, their legs had like a reverse joint. You know how our legs bend that way? Theirs bent, the other way. It's hard for me to do the sort of gesturing right now. However, I was placed within a circle, and there was, I would say to my left, there was this very old man just sort of sitting there, and all around us were, I guess the sort of native beings, and they were doing this dance, and they were chanting, and there was like a rhythmic foot stomping thing they would do, and then they would move, and it was like this sort of circular thing that they were doing around us. And so within that space, there was some form of an exchange. There was some form of I don't know if it was a conversation. I don't know what sort of an energetic exchange it was, but what I do recall from that moment is that, once again, it's like the human version of you kicks in, the sort of human, like the human element kicks in. And I was asking, what are you? Who are you? Where are we? All of the human questions. What's going on? And the crazy thing is, in hindsight, looking at that, I have found in the moments when I've had certain experiences like that, and the sort of human version of me kicks in and starts to ask, it's almost like this effect where I go, and it's like I started to pull out of it. And so in that moment, what I observed was that as he was speaking in this language, this smoke or this mist came out of his mouth, and it began to form what looked like a map. Or it may have been a star system, or I don't really know what it was, but one of them, I would say I guess we could say on the upper right-hand corner. One of them on the upper right-hand corner seemed to light up. I believe that my intention was being drawn there. And this being said a phrase to me, which I've said it to a few people in our community. I have said it to people in private. I've even told other people, I'll never say it publicly over live, but I will actually tell you exactly what this being said to me. Here we go. He said, oh man, for some of you guys that watch this channel, this will either be a very cool and weird moment or just a moment of total cringe gibberish. Okay, I want you get to decide. you get to decide which timeline we're on. I know which one I'm on, but this is what the being said to me. Masasaya buasarai. Masasebu asarai. It was burned into my head. It was burned into my brain. It was a phrase that I remember literally every single time. Every single time I think of it, it's like I will think of that being, and there's this little man that says, Masasaya buasarai. So there you go, everybody. It's 2022. Ask me anything. Listen to me go on a crazy rant about extraterrestrial contacts with some sort of Dogon type shamanic beings. That's what they said to me. One day, I sincerely pray that we get to know what it was, what it means. It may have been where they're from. It may have been that being's name. Whatever it was, there was a reason why the phrase stuck with me. It's something, it's like burned into my brain. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. And so anyway, thank you for asking that. I know that was a long rant. I appreciate you. It was like way more information than you were asking for. So anyway, yeah, we're going to quickly change the subject before we do readings. Magic Mirror, good to see you. Hello. That backdoor connection from the navel to third eye, does it connect in the front of the body, the back of the body, or both? That's a very good question. Probably a lot of you guys weren't tuned in earlier when we did a little bit of a kind of an energetic activation within the navel chakra, and also the throat. One of the things I was talking about was how within the energy body, there are many different areas in which chakras are linked in a little bit of a way that are just kind of different. They don't necessarily always follow the sort of, movement upwards. Some of them have kind of backdoors and connections. What I would call the linkage, or maybe we could call it the connection point between the third eye chakra and the navel chakra, I would like to think, and this is me doing guesswork and me just kind of feeling into something. I would like to think that it extends up the spinal column, kind of through what many of us call the governing vessel. Not necessarily that it would travel along that, but what you'll notice is that just many of the channels or pathways of non-physical energy in the body will run parallel to the spinal column. So I would like to think it's just kind of an additional pathway that exists, you know, kind of like an off ramp that goes way around everything and ends up over there at the third eye. For those of you guys that are familiar with, you know, the dynamics of plumbing and drainage, you can think of that like a vent, I guess. To me, it's like a venting pathway, but I know that that's not always a term that people easily fit into the sort of realm of, you know, energy anatomy. But it's sort of like a venting pathway. Honestly, it's like a venting pathway. And so, yeah, thank you. Thank you, Magic Mirror. Good to see your face. Thanks, guys. Let us know if you have any questions. And thank you, Hopeful Art. She says, not at all. I have moments with animals a lot. I really did. It was just one of those days where it's like, you know, who knows? Who saw it coming? I looked at this dog playing with his, you know, his human out on the street, and it was like the dog looked at me, and I was like, it was just, you know, it sounds so, it's so cringe, but I just felt it, and I was like, oh my God. And I just, you know, I literally walked home and had this experience to kind of wrap up on that moment. It was very much a thing that sort of came and passed. And for me, when I have had those contacts with those beings, what I have noticed is there is inevitably some moment where it's almost like the humanness of me kicks in. And there's this version of Matthew that starts asking questions and like, what about this? What, and it's like, and then you go out, you know what I mean? And then you leave. And so, yeah, it is a thing that definitely still happens. I can't say that I have encountered those beings for a while, although one of the things I do routinely encounter within the sessions that I do is this really amazing type of ongoing dialogue that I think occurs between our human consciousness, or my human consciousness, and what we might call the energy of our higher selves, or what some call our spirit guides. In that one of the fundamental changes I've noticed over the past year is that the sessions become very much like a conversation, and this sort of running sort of it's very much like a talk, and this sort of almost like this, you know, hyper dimensional therapy session in which we're working with multiple channels and energies through the manner in which we speak, through the subject matter in which we connect, through the way in which we kind of discern energy through tarot, and also through the way in which we then transmit that energy in the clearing afterward. Anyway, watch out. I will keep going on and on. Thank you, Tiffany Pertel. She says, I have gratitude for these beings for finding you. You have helped and continue to help so many. Thank you. I appreciate your kindness. One of the big lessons for 2022, you guys, and also beyond, it's not like it's only a 2022 thing, but for a lot of us on the earth plane, this is the year in which you are going to begin to understand your capability to move, to affect, to heal, and also to destroy non-physical energy, which is also a strange thing to say. But yes, many of us will discover that you also have the ability to destroy in much the same ways as we have to kind of heal or to create. It absolutely goes both directions, which, yeah, we're going to be learning a lot more about it. Thank you, Nora Healings. Good to see you. For those of you guys that are interested in a very, very unique form of remote healing protocol, please do check out Nora Healings. I mean this very sincerely. Nora has been a very big part of the first group of just multidimensional trainees. Not that she really needed a lot of training. She was definitely ready to roll from the start. But for those of you guys that are just looking for an additional experience, an additional viewpoint, an additional frequency of healing that I believe works in a beautiful way, I mean a shockingly beautiful way, please do check out Nora and Nora Healings. I mean this sincerely. I had a really, really cool session with her, and it's really good to see you doing videos. So, but really though, check it out. I pray that you guys will check out what she's doing. I honestly feel that it's very, very important to sort of continue to kind of pull other people up this weird ladder or this strange staircase of, you know, multidimensional healing and activation. I have noticed for me that it just kind of takes a different form. I feel better about it. I feel more in purpose and sort of, you know, moving along with the flow of what I'm supposed to do when we have those moments, when we can actually look at people and go, whoa, dude, you're really going for it. Like you literally walked into this thing and you're going for it. You're throwing yourself in there. It's like you're putting yourself in the line of service. And to me, I think one of the most important things we can do as professional healers, or, you know, whether it's intuitive psychics, teachers, whatever you want to call it, is to continue to kind of bring people up to the levels that we're at. I think that there's a lot of kind of posturing and elitism, and a lot of like, oh, just go to this person, they'll sort of heal it, they'll take the implant out, they'll make this go away, which is absolutely possible. But to me, I think, you know, one of the greatest things we can do right now is help other people figure out and empower them by giving them tools and just clarity within themselves so that they can learn their own modalities. People that have worked with us in our training program know that I will always say this: the most effective energetic clearing, the most effective method of connecting with spirit, the most effective method of divination is going to be through your own methods, your own protocols, and your own modalities. For those of us that are willing to take full ownership over the energy that you're creating, over your modality, over your process, over the way you choose to connect with spirit, you are going to be operating on an entirely different level from many other people that are still following. Not that there's any difficulty, not that there's a deficit in it, but you know, for people that are still following the somewhat dogmatic and predetermined paths of energy, those are very powerful, but in many cases, the best thing we can do is to create our own. For a lot of us, we will continue to try to heal phantom issues, whether they be physical, emotional, and mental, through our journey with other healers in this awakening process. And in many cases, it'll help, but it won't necessarily, you know, solve the problem. And for many of us, we realize that's because their actual purpose, their job, is to actually learn to do it for ourselves, which, you know, sometimes in the context of, you know, an individual energy clearing, people don't necessarily want to hear that. You know what I mean? That's not always something that you can effectively bring in. Like, well, check it out. The reason why you haven't actually healed is because you're tasked with healing yourself. It's all about how we would deliver that message, you know what I mean? But it is definitely a real thing. And I am also one of those people. I think that there were certain conditions and just elements of my life, certain blockages that were happening that they could not have been moved unless I had learned how to do it. And so anyway, watch out. I'll just keep ranting on it. Thank you, Cassandra. I love it. She put the link for Nora Healings in there. Awesome. Get ready, Cassandra. We're going to get weird. For those of you guys that are also seeking an additional connection within the realm of astrology, tarot, and probably a bunch of other things, because I noticed you're always pumping everybody else up, Cassandra / Aurora. And so I pray you guys will also check out what she is doing. And yes, please put your website in the chat, Cassandra. If you're still doing readings, put your website in there. But yeah, I pray that you will. I pray that you will. Don't worry, you don't have to. If this is too much of a cringe moment, it's okay. But I pray that people will take advantage of those that are also doing similar work in this soul group. There are many of us. Everybody has a key. Everybody has a piece of the puzzle. Some people have a lot of keys. Some people have the most important one that you will need, and that's the only one they have. Other people have, you know, all kinds of other things. Other people, their purpose is honestly meant to trigger you so that you'll learn how to heal yourself. I had a fun experience with, you know, somebody this morning projecting weird shit on me that caused me to go through somewhat of a cathartic, you know, episode. And, you know, here we are wearing this silly hat. But everyone else is also having that process in their own way. Anyway, for those that are very observant, you will notice when I get off topic, because I'm sort of looking at the chat and I'll get pulled into weirdness. But anyway, boom, there she is. Thank you, Miss Liz White Swan. Bam. Nice. I love it. Onion Man, thank you for showing up. Onion Man 77 says, is the Archon grid still a thing affecting us? This is, oh man, this might be such a cheap answer, but I'm going to be really, really real with you. I believe that during our journey here on Earth, this, what we might call the Archon grid, or the sort of negative energetic mechanics of our physical realm, that's part of just the process of duality, of existing on Earth. And I do not believe that those are things that need to necessarily be eradicated from our planet. I believe that part of our journey here as humans is to learn how to heal and sort of repair the aspects of ourself that are involved and connected with those timelines and with those what we might call forms of reversal technology. And so I believe that on some level, what we might call an archon grid or a non-physical kind of linkage of anti-life energies, I believe that's always going to exist on the earth plane. I think it's just one of the fundamental elements of our journey. Now, the level to which it affects us or causes damage to people on the earth plane, I think, is also a thing that is changing. And so we could say that while there is still an archon grid, or what other people call archon grid, reversal technology, anti-life technology, whatever kind of spiritual term you want to add to it, it's still there. They're very real. And if you want to get technical, I think in the past year, I would say just in, it felt like November, but I could have been wrong. But just in the past few months, there have been an additional layer of energetic or etheric machinery that have been activated on an even greater level. And so I'll just say it. One of the ways in which people are being affected by what you would call a so-called archon grid is through the wave of predatory and parasitic forced medical technology, medical treatments, and control that is being placed over our population. That's a really good example when we say, is there still a grid? Yeah, there it is. It's there it is working in the physical realm. But for those that are walking a different path, those that are dedicated to clearing and healing and repairing this energy, many of us are not going to be affected in the same ways that other people were, and also in the ways that we were in the past. And so not that you don't get affected by negative energy, we all do, but for some of us, you will be moving past the vibratory state in which that is one of the primary issues that we'll have to deal with. So anyway, Onion Man, that's a very long-winded way of saying yes, it's still affecting us on some level, but it's really up to our kind of vibratory range as to how much it's affecting us. And I hope that makes sense. I know I communicate things in such odd and cumbersome and overly tangential manner. Thank you. He says, okay, yes, I've been hearing a lot about starseeds having trouble lately. I've been in a funk, and a good friend of mine is having a hard time too. You are not alone. There's a number of kind of like, I think there's some like retrograde activity happening astrologically right now. There is a huge wave of energy kind of affecting our energetic anatomy right now. Likewise, I think there's also just a big spike or some sort of activity that keeps moving up and down within the Schumann resonance graph that I don't necessarily think always gets accurately portrayed within the sort of visual stuff that they show, but I think it's very accurately talked about by a number of people in our community. Alexis Buck is definitely one of them, just in terms of kind of understanding and keeping in track of what's going on. You guys can see how my verbal stuff is getting all mixed up, but anyway. Thanks. Thank you, Onion Man. Brooklyn Way, how's it going? Good to see you. It is certainly a longer conversation, and if we don't watch out, I'll just go on a crazy, long-winded verbal loop, just continuing to talk about it. And so, thanks, you guys. If we are ready, we're going to officially begin reading time. And so, originally, this was the point where I was going to put on this weird hat, but we did it in the beginning, so we're just going to leave it. And yeah, let's do some tarot readings. For those that are here, it is a new year beginning. It's 2022. We already ranted about a number of strange changes and developments happening within the human body. We've talked about some of the cyclical extraterrestrial experiences that I've been having, as well as a lot of other people on the Earth plane. I'm definitely not the only one. But for those of you guys that are here, we're going to do a few readings. Hopefully we're going to keep them short. I love that Facebook and YouTube have me capped in kind of a low traffic algorithm. So, we only get about, 20 to 30 people in every live stream. Every now and then, if some of the sort of cooler streamers are not on, more people will show up over here. But we're in about, we're in an appropriate viewership range. And so if you are one of the people that are hanging out here in the background, we're going to be doing a drawing later on. Right now, there's only 30 people here. Ooh, 29, wow. So the odds are going to be majorly in your favor for anyone that wants to win a private reading. It's going to take a couple weeks because we're right about to move which is also a thing that's happening on the Earth plane. A number of people are suddenly moving to the next stage of just physical placement for the next wave of your mission. A lot of people are moving in the month of January. We're also one of them. And so later on, we're going to give away a reading. It'll be probably an hour-long reading. It's like everything I do tends to be an hour or more, but we're gonna give away a free reading. So the only thing you have to do to qualify for that is just subscribe to this channel. You know what I mean? All you got to do is subscribe and put something in the chat. I'm going to be watching this chat later on. But yeah, I did notice in the chat that you would like to be entered in the drawing. Actually, you know what you could do? If you want to be entered in the drawing, just put your name. Put your name in there. That is how I will know. So yeah. Absolutely, we're gonna do some cards. Colleen Holt, good to see you. Whoa, good to see you. How's it going? All right, we're gonna go up to the beginning. Where are we? Miss Liz White Swan says, I'm soaking up sun, walking in glistening and sparkling snow. It is maybe a little known or well-known fact, Liz, that I am one of those people with zero snow experience in this world. I was born and raised in the desert, you know what I mean? Like for me, like the snow experience, it's like a foreign realm. Somebody was making fun of me the other day because I was like, I think the coldest weather I was ever in was 12. It was 12, something like that. And other people are like, how about, negative 30? And I'm like, I wouldn't even know what that's like, but yeah. We hung out in Mount Shasta Christmas before last. I think that was maybe almost 2 years ago now. And I don't even think they were having big snow that year, but I was just like, oh my God, it's so cold. It was a strange experience. Those times when you realize you're definitely not equipped for that type of weather, where you're like, I have no experience here. But I'll tell you, dude, if it was like 150, I would exist. You know what I mean? I will last it. We'll make it out. Damn. Last night in Colorado, 10 inches of snow. I feel you. Anyway, okay, here we go. We are going to do some reading. Somebody asked in the beginning, where were they? It was Mike Patterson. He was the first one. We're going to answer a question though real quick. Heather Gruber says, how do you know if your children are star seeds? That's a really good question. I believe at this stage of our journey on Earth, there is a very great chance that the majority of children that are being born right now and that were already born are amongst what many of us call, if you want to go into Dolores Cannon realm, that third wave of volunteers. And so, as ensouled beings on the Earth plane, I would say that, your children are definitely star seeds. Does it mean that within the course of their human life cycle that they have made a choice to embrace, to understand, to realize, or to activate that version of themselves? Maybe, maybe not. But it's just my opinion that I think nearly everyone that incarnates on the planet Earth right now with a soul, and no, not everyone here is an ensouled being. Some are NPCs. It's very real. But yeah, I believe that your children are probably star seeds. I shouldn't even say probably. And, along with that, I think, kind of even the term starseed is kind of becoming just almost like just a commonplace element of your human journey in which we discover this version of ourselves. And so I would even venture to say that in the coming years, we'll be referring to it as something else altogether. But I believe they are. So anyway, I hope that makes sense. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for hanging out. Okay, here we go. It is really happening, you guys. It's been a really weird day. It's been really weird and fun. Yes, we're starting with Mike Patterson. Whoa, where is he? There he is. Boom, Mike Patterson. How's it going? Will you please pull a card? I'm wondering if it's possible for me to make art that has healing capabilities. It's healing for me, but can it be for others too? Good to have. Love to miss you. Thank you. Appreciate you. Mike was out here. Oh, man, I think it was only maybe last week or the week before. Thanks for being a part of our weird multi-dimensional family. And for those of you guys that have been hanging out for the last hour and 18 minutes, get ready because we're going to get even more manic and hyper as we formally connect with those of you assisting the energy of Mike. Thank you, Mike. For those of you assisting Mike on the Earth plane, we're just looking for advice and understanding pertaining to his requests about creating healing art. What does he need to know about it? What's important? Is he capable of doing it? What do we need to know? You'll see it with me, Mike. This is the part I love about doing these, which sometimes is a bad idea, but we'll see it together. Here we go. Mike, you have received, and we're gonna give you more than one card, dude, because this is always a can of worms. Mike, your first piece of information that you've received on that question is the Eight of Cups. And so first off, I want to start by saying, if you're just wondering, like, is it even possible for me to do a thing? Yes, it is. The Eight of Cups is not telling you whether it's possible or not possible, because I know you. I know it's absolutely a thing that you're capable of doing. And if you're coming to the stage in your journey in which you're starting to think, could I do that? Should I do that? In my opinion, that's usually your guides or some energy around you actually going, hey, Mike, maybe you should start doing healing art. But we here in the physical body, we receive it as, I wonder if I should start doing this thing. I don't even know. Maybe it'll work. And anyways, in my opinion, that's a sign that you can. The manner in which you do it could change. But anyway, in answering the question of just energy around that, Mike, you have an Eight of Cups, which is a little bit of a different story because it's neither yes or no, but it is caught up in the past. It might be caught up in an emotional trial from another time in their journey. They will feel that certain elements of energy or experiences or learning or relationships or even old traumas or just stuff is missing. They'll feel that other people have it, but I don't, or I had this thing once and it went away, or will I ever get that? You know, all those kind of yearning questions. Those are things that come with the Eight of Cups, which for some people, they look at this and they think, oh man, this is kind of a lonely road, which it can be. This person will spend a lot of time kind of, you know, worrying about certain things and wondering about what's missing or gone wrong. But the whole thing is, and I know a lot of other people have seen this card, Eight of Cups, when you look at it, it's like one cup looks like it's missing, but they're all there. Everything's there. The situation is complete. We'll rearrange certain things in our life. And the Eight of Cups will change your perspective entirely if you're willing to change your emotional perspective. And so, Mike, I would say as you are getting kind of, you know, more in tune with what you're going to be offering and doing, to me, intuitive or healing-based artwork is absolutely possible. I would say just continue to work with your emotional body and understand that you already have the tools for that. Just real quickly before we move on, one more, Mike. Oh, wow, cool. Whoa. Oh, man, dude, we just went down a crazy road because it actually was two together. But anyway, Mike, you got the Seven of Cups and the 10 of Swords. We'll do Seven of Cups first. Seven of Cups is really, it's kind of a cool energy to have. It tells you that many of the ideas you have around you are 100% possible right now, which is a really cool thing to hear. They're all realistic, but the problem with Seven of Cups, Mike, is that we tend to not really choose one of those cups. We don't really settle on one. We don't fully devote ourselves to one. We sip from each of them, and as a result, we never get all of anything. And so Seven of Cups calls you to make up your mind in a more determined manner. It does call certain people to stop dreaming on some level and start acting. But it's beautiful because it tells you any one of those situations that you see right there are possible, and they're all realistic. We could look next to it and you'll see this 10 of Swords and you'll be like, all right, but what's that guy doing? Well, 10 of Swords is the end of an era. Maybe it's for you, an era in which you feel defeated, knocked down, overloaded by energy. One of the whole story of 10 of Swords, you guys, is he's still alive. He's not dead. He just has a bunch of swords in his back and he's like, ugh, still going on. He's still kind of dragging himself forward. And so the 10 of Swords asks us to call it quits, sometimes within the mental body, sometimes within our outlook, sometimes within the manner in which we communicate ourselves to the world. But anyway, I think I think for you, as you let go of the energies that are weighing you down at this stage of the journey, you'll move into more certainty within the Seven of Cups. As we rearrange the sort of, you know, just old emotions in the body, you'll find that you're already very well equipped to begin doing that. It might just take a lot of practice, you know, throwing yourself in there. But anyway, thank you for showing up, Mike Patterson. Boom. Okay, we're gonna move on. Thank you. For those of you guys that are putting your name in the chat, if you tuned in earlier, the reason why people are doing that is because we're going to do a drawing for a free private session with myself in the coming month. And so if you want to be entered in that drawing, all you have to do is subscribe, number one, And then number 2, just put your name down there. That's how I'm going to know you're interested in being in the drawing. I'll probably announce the, actually, I don't know when we'll announce it. Who knows? Yeah, we're going to do some more readings. Okay, let's see. Who asked next? Let's scroll down a little bit. Tiffany Pertel, what's going on? Reading on having COVID right now would be great. Is it a clearing upgrade to my immune system? Let's see. What do we need to know? For those of you assisting Tiffany Pertel on the Earth plane. Ooh, all right, here we go. Tiffany. Okay. Oh man, I guess we're gonna get weird. I believe, or at least what it feels like in the moment, is that what you would call the so-called COVID frequency within you. First off, it feels like it's whether we call it COVID or something else now, it feels like sort of a traditional kind of chemical imbalance that's created just a little bit of just like symptomology and stuff within your body that, to me, feels like it's going to pass as you continue to detox and hydrate and cycle stuff out. I think you could call it an upgrade to your immune system if you want, which is a big part of it, but it just feels like you kind of like shedding and moving through energy that's, within the body. And at certain stages, little kind of bubbles will pop and energies will exit and they'll have symptoms, they'll have emotions. Some of them will lower your immunity levels based on what's releasing from the body or based upon the level of kind of chemicals within the bloodstream. And in some cases, that'll just cause you to get sick in a really weird way for a short time. In your case, I have a feeling, yeah, you could call it a clearing or an upgrade. Yeah, thank you. I hope that helps. I hope that makes sense. We will pull a card for you though. We definitely will. Boom. For those of you guys assisting, Tiffany Pertel. What do we need to know? Tiffany Pertel. Wow, what a beautiful non-answer, Tiffany. You got an Ace of Swords, which honestly, you know what? I'm going to be really real with you. The Ace of Swords is not going to tell you whether or not COVID is going to be an upgrade or just a sickness that you have. But here's what the Ace of Swords will tell you. It will tell you that you are in a cyclical timeline shift opportunity with respect to the ways in which you communicate yourself to the world. It is very related to the throat. It is very related to your speech. It is related to how you express yourself. It's related to the cycles in your life of communication. And so I know that's a weird, bumpy, windy road that we're going down, but it's not necessarily telling you too much about the nature of what's going on in your energy body with respect to illness. I think it's more integrating the stage that you are at right now and kind of changes that are going to be occurring for you, that if you embrace them and if you run with them, however difficult and polarizing, the Ace of Swords will show up in people's lives. And if you're willing to make really bold choices, it'll redefine the ways in which you are received by the world, the ways in which you communicate yourself, the ways in, oh man, so many other things. I'm instantly losing track as we go there. But anyway, let us keep going. Let us keep going. I hope that helps. Thank you for being here. Thanks for being here. Let's keep rolling. I'm going to scroll up and we're going to do some more readings. Okay. Thank you, Lost and Profound. I like your screen name. El Luran says, hi, I've been thinking of you and here you are. Cool. Thank you for saying that and thank you for showing up. Like at the beginning of our live stream today, El, I was getting weird and angular and getting, kind of like going through like a cathartic energy thing. And it was weird because I was saying last night and this morning, this weird wave came in and I was like, oh, I think I'm going to do a live. Okay, boom. And like, here we are. And so thank you for hearing that telepathic, non-physical signal that rings out. And you're like, oh, boom. And there they are. So yeah, let's keep rolling. Nora Healing says, I would love a card. It's been a while. Totally. Let's do a quick reading for Nora. For those of you assisting the mind-body-spirit complex known as Nora. Thank you. Oh, there it is. We're out. I love it. Thank you, Nora. For those of you assisting Nora, anything we need to know right now? Anything important? Energy for the new year. Who knows? We don't know. We're seeing it together. Oh my goodness, look at this. Wow, look at, so Nora, you started out with a tower moment. And so this is really fun for those of you guys that are learning tarot, and for those of you guys that sometimes we'll see the tower and we're like, what? Dude, what does that mean? Because classically, when the tower rolls in a tarot reading, it's usually a signal that some element of your journey is not coming together. Maybe it's not working out. Maybe something's not happening the way it should. Maybe there's something that you're building within your life that's, it could be in danger. Sometimes it'll need to be revised or rebuilt or taken down and started all over again. Here's the thing, Nora. Excuse me. Sorry. I don't know exactly where this is going to show up in your life, but when we start out the new year with something like the tower, in my opinion, it's an incredibly useful thing. Even if it is polarizing, even if it is, creates a big question mark in your world. And we're going to look more on the tower in a second. I'm not going to leave you with just the tower, but what do we do, you guys, when we're doing a one card reading and the tower rolls in? Well, the tower's got a lot of meanings. And as you know, in many cases, things with the tower don't always work out, but it depends on what we're looking at. Because the tower, in another context for people, can be an escape. It can be an awareness moment. It can be one of those indicators that rolls in that says, if you change, if you alter your path now, if you, just change the way in which you're operating on some level, you will be able to effectively avoid whatever this brings in. Every now and then, the tower will also show up in your path to let you know that you will be observing someone else's tower moment, or that you might just see it in some way. And let's see what's next to the tower so we can help Nora understand if there is something that needs to be revised or changed, if there is something that needs to possibly be torn down and rebuilt. We're just looking for guidance and understanding as to what that could be. Boom. Wow, Nora, and you got the moon. And so what happens when we would receive the moon in a moment like that? We got the tower and then the moon, which for people in sort of like vanilla tarot realm, they're going to be like, oh man, what? This is horrible. But in multidimensional tarot, there's a whole additional layer of information that's present, especially when we receive things like this. So we already heard about the tower. Tower shows up to give you a little bit of a warning about things that aren't working out, so you can adjust your course, rebuild, tear things down, escape in a timely manner, avoid just some form of difficulty or disaster. And then we ask, well, what's it about? And we get the moon. And so in my opinion, if there was something that was being asked to be revised, changed, or altered in some way, when the moon shows up and you're wondering what that is, it's going to be the processes, it's going to be the manner in which we engage in ritual, ceremony, or connection with spirit. Why does that take place? When the moon comes around, everything gets more intense. It comes around in, as we know, it comes around in hormonal ways, it comes around in astrological ways, it comes around every month. It, shrinks and grows. And so anyway, when these guys roll in, I think that if there was something that you were being asked to alter or change or to just be given awareness about, it'll be cyclical things that come into your life and create waves of intensity and the manner in which you communicate with them. It's almost like you'll start to change the ways you react to those energies. You'll change the ways that you react to triggers. You'll change the ways in which you engage with spirit. And in many cases, that will start to illuminate certain things, which is one of the hallmarks of the moon. As you know, when the moon is full, things are just a bit more visible. And so, on one hand, that could be a very confusing and meandering social media live stream reading, or that could be something indicative of things that aren't working out. And I see it, boom, right there. Whoa, I love it. Thank you, Nora. I'll finally get rid of my old apartment at the end of this month. I would say that could possibly be a good indicator of what the tower moment could be about for you. If it is, there could be something that you'll either revise, change, or just be forced to kind of alter about that process as it closes. In fact, if you wanted to, really jump in on it, you could start looking and seeing if there's anything undone or anything that, in some cases could get blamed on you. That's one of the things when the tower will roll in and it's kind of notifying you of something in the future. In some cases, it can be to help you avoid unneeded or undue blame. So anyway, I'm probably going through all kinds of wild possibilities on that, Nora. So anyway, thanks, you guys. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Okay, I'm just going to start grabbing people from random because there's a lot of stuff in the chat now. And so sometimes people get skipped. It's not personal. I just grab ones that I see. And so let's keep going. Thank you, Heather Chip, for entering the drawing. Cool. Onion Man, I did a virtual training with Wim Hof. I love it. I love it. Absolutely. Having done Wim Hof a lot, that would probably be the way I would hopefully survive in the Arctic realms. And hello, thank you, Catherine. She said, I would love a reading, please. Struggling today with health after catching CV. I know, I've heard of that. I'm pretty sure I had a similar thing earlier this year. It was incredibly debilitating. It definitely caused me to kind of rethink my conclusion about this thing's not even real. It's all made up. And dude, if it was, man, I got, a bitter, some sort of a bitter illness earlier. Did I get tested? No. But it was definitely a bit different than past experiences. Does that mean that's what that is? I don't know. I actually do not know. Let's see what's going on with Catherine. For those of you assisting Catherine, we're just looking for an additional layer of clarity or understanding as to what's going on with just illness or what's happening in the body. What does she need to know? It's 2022. Catherine, thank you for showing up today. You have received a hangman. Don't worry, he's not a bad guy to get, because when we really look at him, we would realize he's hanging himself, and he's not even hung in the traditional way. He's just hanging out in a tree. Why would he show up in a reading like this on a day like today? Well, the hangman sometimes keeps himself limited. He sometimes will just kind of keep himself small. He'll hitch himself to certain ideas. He'll think that's the way it is. I have to do X, Y, and Z. That's just what I do. This is the way it is. I'm forced to do certain things. It's part of my process. Hangman is a cool moment in your journey where, for those that are willing to really reevaluate the ways in which, or the things that they're holding on to, the ideas, the understandings of themselves, the hangman will hopefully when he shows up in a good way, he will advise you to realize that we were just, it gets awkward. He will advise you to realize that you may have been wrong about certain conclusions that you have made about yourself. In many cases, though, it's not like you thought you were all this and, the hangman has to come and knock you down. It's nothing like that. He doesn't do that. But what he does is he'll just hold on to an idea. He'll hold on to a self-limiting piece of himself, and it kind of just keeps him where he is. And so this might be outside of, the realm of you getting sick. So that might seem like a nonsensical detail, Catherine. So we're gonna pull another card. I think the hangman might just be showing up on a larger level in your life to kind of ask for a greater level of awareness around what you think is the way that it is. I don't know if that makes sense the way I said that, but to kind of cause you to rethink your conclusions about where you are right now. Anyway, let's do one more for her. And I would say, if there's one thing that you need to know as you go forward from today, whether it be in physical health or, whether it be having a hard time or whether it be emotional, the Page of Cups is the #1 empath in all of tarot. And when she shows up in your path or your journey and you're wondering what's going on, what do I do? The Page of Cups is here. Maybe I feel sick or crazy, or there's too much of something in my body or my life. The Page of Cups, well, I hope you guys can see. I'm going to get really close on the screen. The Page of Cups has a very small cup, and she's the #1 empath in all of tarot. One of the crazy things about her is that she needs to learn how to renew herself, about how to understand that she gathers a lot of emotional energy from the world, and the thing that she'll need to do with it, and it's not the only thing, but one of the ways in which the Page of Cups renews her cup and continually shares herself the world, is she creates something. She's an artist, she's a creator, she's an empathic being, she feels all of everything in the world. And as a result, she must create something with it. Otherwise, it could overtake her, kind of like when the tide comes in and the water spreads over everything. And so for the Page of Cups, It's about emotional well-being. It's about the emotions that we hold within our body. It's about the energy that we pick up and hold on to from other people. And so create something with it. Understand that, maybe the hangman is in there. He, sometimes he'll cause us to rethink our conclusions. But I hope that helps, Catherine. I have a strange feeling that you're going to be receiving a bit of a respite or just a change from the situation you're in right now. So anyway, thanks. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for hanging out. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom. We're going to grab one of the people down here. Let's see, who will we get? Thank you, Lycretia. She says, I can relate to the Page of Cups. I feel you. I do as well. There's a couple tasks that people with that really identify with page energy have, and there's also going to be kind of hallmarks of personality that will kind of tell you where you're at with page energy. And so how do you know if you're in a page stage in your life? Well, the pages are always starting a new thing, so they're going to be at the beginning of a new chapter. They're going to be at the beginning of a new journey. And the first mission of the page, and it doesn't matter which page it is, they all have kind of their own spin, but the first mission of each of the pages is to recognize their legitimacy, which is weird, right? You're like, what? I have to recognize my legitimacy? Why does a page have to do that? Well, the pages come in a different package. They're usually, and maybe for those of you guys that identify with the page, maybe like Krisha, maybe somebody else, you will nearly have always been in a different package. You'll have been too weird, too big, too small, too this, too that, whatever it is, you're too something. That's usually the hallmark of a page. And secondly, the page will also, they tend to be younger. Sometimes they're older though. And they'll be in a little bit of a new position in this world, one in which they are meant to be there. And so the first duty is to understand you're meant to be there. The page has to be able to look at the people alongside them, the ones that they seek knowledge, healing, and just connection from. And they have to have this moment where they go, oh yeah, we are literally one in the same. Why is that? The pages are the youngest members of the royal court. They have already arrived at a point of stature or development that is above many of the other beings in tarot. The problem is they can't always recognize it. They don't always get seen. And then the other mission of the page is that they must develop something that they're holding on to. In the case of the Page of Cups, and she's still here, I already forgot who it was that received the Page of Cups, but for the person and anyone else who kind of resonates with the Page of Cups, what does a Page of Cup do? It's about creation. What does the Page of Pentacles do? Well, she has to learn how to put something she's been given to use. The Page of Swords has to learn how to swing their sword in a new way. And the Page of Wands must learn how to wield the wand that they have chosen. And so they all have to do this certain thing within the realm of their suit. But anyway, watch out. I will go on a very long tarot rant. Let me bring those up. And so thank you, Catherine. She says, Page of Cups. Instantly love that card. Beautiful. Also, Hangman makes sense right now. Thank you. I am glad it does. For some people, Hangman doesn't make sense. Sometimes I'll get Hangman and I'm like, what? What? Are you trying to tell me I have the wrong idea about this or that? Sometimes you won't even know what it is you have the wrong idea about, which is why the Hangman's a weird guy. But he's incredibly helpful. He's incredibly helpful. As long as we're willing to change our ideas about things. But anyway, thanks. Thanks, guys. Thank you, everyone. Let's scroll upward and we will find yet another person to do a reading for. Thank you. We have a good question here. Eric R. says, I heard Andrew Bartz say that COVID will change Chinese people's DNA in a way that they will no longer be influenced by their leaders as much or less obedient. That's a very interesting observation. I have not heard that. However, I do enjoy Andrew Bartz, and I do enjoy the work and the stuff that he brings forward. I don't know that I necessarily have looked at it through that angle. And honestly, okay, I'll just be real, because we're in the year of authenticity right now, you guys. For those of you guys that were at the beginning of this ultra long live stream, I was ranting about it and saying some weird things. And we even got to tell somebody to F off in the beginning. But, from a place of true authenticity, okay, here we go. I I don't really believe it. I don't mean that from a place of this person's wrong, I'm right. It may be within the realm of possibility. Well, I guess everything's possible. It may be one of the kind of latent kind of changes that will occur within, you know, cultures as a result of, you know, the, you know, pathogens and, you know, chemical changes and all kinds of things that take place. I believe that is 100% possible. We're in, if you want to get technical, we are in a time on Earth and in which pretty much everything is possible, in which many different realities are coinciding and clashing together at the same time. So, you know, as soon as you say a certain thing is not real, there is a literal exception that pops up somewhere in our realm that's like, oh, really? And so, even though I don't necessarily believe that that's a thing that's happening, I don't know that it's not. And so I would, to me, it would stand to reason that if an entire culture of people came to a point in which they were able to be no longer influenced by their leaders, I don't know that that would happen as a result of an artificially created pathogen that was put together by a multinational group of, essentially criminals and murderers. I don't know that that would be, you know, the way in which, you know, they receive that genetic change. To me, it seems like if they did come to that realization, or if they did reach the vibratory level in which they were able to break through that sort of obedience filter, I think it would come as a result of just scheduled changes and activations that take place within the energy body throughout the awakening process. Kind of like, you know, for those of you guys that have seen that Carrie Cassidy interview where they were talking about the looking glass technology, you know, one of the things they observed, you know, for I think pretty much everyone that was able to view that technology is that no matter what, a certain thing was coming. And the only thing they could do was try to hold it off a little bit longer, a little bit longer. And so to me, I think it is an inevitability that on some level, you know, maybe this culture as a whole will somehow, you know, be able to shake the chains and, you know, sort of, you know, release themselves from layers of implantation or just energetic domination that cause them to be that way. But at the same time, I think there's tons of people in China who are definitely not on board with this, and they're just kind of more suppressed. They're not able to talk about it in ways that we are. But anyway, thank you for bringing that question and that comment in here. I mean that sincerely. And I love Andrew Bartz's work. He's been really cool. I've enjoyed watching his live streams and stuff. I wish I could be on his show. I know that he had a show for a while. I sincerely wish I could, because I think he has a lot to offer. But anyway, thank you, Eric R. I hope that makes sense. Watch out, because if you guys ask questions, I'll just go on this crazy rant about the question. We're in the year of authenticity, I hope. Hopefully it doesn't become raw, unbridled, toxic authenticity, and we can stay within a sort of reasonable, and within a reasonable range. And as I kind of drool on myself after almost 2 hours, let's keep going. I know a lot of people are asking for readings, and I'm doing a lot of ranting, and so we're going to try to do some. Oh, here's somebody. Boom! I'm just going to grab them at random. What's up, Diana Ronsley? How's it going? Diana Ronsley. Let's pull just a quick card. It's good to see your face around these parts, or your name rather. It's good to see your name around these parts. For those of you guys assisting Diana Ronsley at the beginning of 2022, we're just looking for just a quick energetic notice, anything she'll need to be made aware of. And let's make it simple, easy to understand, and constructive for those of us in physical bodies. Thank you, everyone. Here we go. Diana Ronsley. Ooh, Diana Ronsley. Thank you for showing up. You have received our old friend, the Five of Wands, which honestly, he's not a crisis either. However, if you're wondering what to expect with Five of Wands, Diana, at the beginning of the year, or really any stage, it is a little bit of a chaotic energy. It's physically chaotic too. When the Five of Wands is out, there is a lot of activity going to be happening around you on the earth plane. Some of it could be people with, you know, agendas. Some of it could be people with ideas. Some of it could be people trying to insert themselves all over the place. And there's a very important symbolic element to the Five of Wands. I'm going to get really close to the camera, you guys, and I want everyone to notice this. Hopefully my glare is not too bad. But look at Five of Wands, and I'd like you to notice here. Thanks, Diane. I'm going to pull you off the screen. And notice that in Five of Wands, no one's actually hitting each other. They're just clashing. In fact, some people might think they're choreographing a dance move or they're practicing something. And so the whole deal with Five of Wands, Diana, is that it can seem very chaotic, but the whole antidote for that is to stay firm in who you know you are and what you're doing, to sort of simplify the energetic influences. And in many cases, to understand that if you are within a toxic environment, all the fives in tarot, you guys, all the fives are temporary and often illusionary states of being that only continue in so long as we maintain that viewpoint. In this case, with the Five of Wands, what's the viewpoint that we would maintain that would keep us in a state of chaos? It's that this is chaos. It's that this is a fight. You'll look at this and you'll be like, wait a minute, are they fighting or are they dancing? Your outlook and the way you view this dictates which one it is. And it also kind of tells us about what the energy is in our world. For Diana Ronsley, though, I would say continue to seek silence, continue to simplify the level of influences and just noise around you. Stay firm in what you know to be true, and understand that a lot of the things that are aiming at you in this world right now, they will not touch you, especially if there's anything in your life that feels like this. And so, anyway, thank you. Thanks for showing up. We're going to keep going. If you're one of the people that's still hanging out and you already asked for a reading, you can put your name in again. Please put your, say, you know, that you would still like a reading, because there's a lot of stuff in the chat and I will get lost in it. And so it's okay to say it again, because I'm going to be scrolling up and down. And so I'm not one of those people that's like, what the hell? You said it 3 times. And, you know, because sometimes people really need a reading. Sometimes people don't really care. I'll just grab whoever shows up. And so we are gonna grab one. This is Mon Chen. How's it going? How can I heal the relationship with my mother? Is there past life stuff between us or interference? Thank you for asking. Thank you, Mon Chen, for being here, by the way. Thank you, Mon Chen. Those of you assisting Mon Chen, what can you tell us about healing the relationship with her mother, or his mother, excuse me? Tell us about past life energies. What do we need to know? Boom. Cool. First thing we received is a Page of Wands, which, wow, it's a very interesting and just a very interesting point of reference. When you talk about how can you heal the relationship with your mother and a Page of Wands shows up, understand that you are already on that path. Even if you have not made any moves, even if you have not, you know, called her up or been like, hey, Mom, we need to talk, or, you know, whatever it is, the Page of Wands, as you can see, has already accepted a certain thing, and they're already going to be in a new stage. They might not know what to do with it. They might not know how to wield it. They might not know how to accomplish the thing that they just chose. But by the time this shows up in your journey, you are already on the way toward doing that. Now, how you do it and when and the ways in which you kind of engage in that, those are things that will actually have to be learned. And so here's the thing. When you say, how can I heal the relationship with my mother? Understand that on some level, just based on the guidance that shows up, it's already a decision that has been made. And so one of the things you can do, I know this might sound cheesy, but people with Page of Wands energy, they start to practice something. They'll start to practice wielding it or using it or throwing it around. And so one of the ways in which you can start to, you know, prepare yourself to reach out and heal and connect with your mom on another level is going to be by practicing and sort of, you know, honestly looking at the ways in which you can create change within your physical world, which might seem like a really weird way to spin it, but the Page of Wands and all of the wands learn by doing. By the time the wands show up in your life, you're past the point of thinking about it. You're past the point of it just being a feeling, and you're in the stage in which you're going to be acting upon a certain thing. And so it might be a weird roundabout way to get there, but I think you are already in that stage. Now, how do you continue it? You will continue to practice and work with and kind of swing that metaphorical wand around. Understand that, you know, it's going to be a thing that you will continue to chip away at. Anyway, I'm already getting stuck on that card. The last thing on the Page of Wands. Okay, thank you. With respect to the past life stuff, in nearly every case, and I know that's always a dangerous thing to say every time, but for many of us on the earth plane right now, we have gone through the relationship cycle with our parents through many different lifetimes, meaning that in many recent lifetimes, we were the parent, or we have gone through this like changing of roles. And so I believe that for most of us on the earth plane right now that are experiencing some form of change or just upheaval or healing or just deep emotion and activity around relationships, those are going to be signs in and of itself that there is a past life thing that we're still correcting, that we're working with. But then again, also at the same time, when we become over reliant upon, the past life dynamics in this world, we can also overshadow and sort of, minimize certain things that are meant to be experienced in this life. And so, once again, a very roundabout way of going about answering this, but I think you will heal the relationship with your mother by continuing to practice and sort of work on that in your own way to understand that the decision has already been made. And then also, yes, there's past life stuff there. And the reality is for a lot of us, that'll make it a little bit worse, a little bit deeper. But it's definitely possible for you. We're going to do one more for Mon Chen. You got it through. Wow, interesting synchronicity. You got two wands, or excuse me, you got three of wands, but you got two wands cards. And so you also received the three of wands, which it's kind of awkward, but I'll just be real with you. The three of wands is one of the only short-term change indicators in all of multidimensional tarot, meaning when this thing shows up in your life, there's a path of change approaching you already. So it's kind of a weird confirmation that somebody has already made a decision to just be a part of a healing process with your mother. The other thing we get is that, well, three different, possibly, more, just multiple occasions or opportunities to work with that are approaching you. We don't know if they're good or bad or right or wrong. We don't know what's in those ships down there, but this is a very reliable short-term change indicator. And so I think probably within the first few months of this year, hopefully, if it's possible and you're willing to initiate it, you and your mom can begin a stage of some form of healing. Sometimes the first stage of healing comes with a big upheaval. So don't worry if you end up broaching that and things get crazy. That's also part of the process. But I hope that helps, Mon Chen. Thank you for being here. MTB says, also remember that all past life relationships are all going on now. Boom, you got it. Your connection to them is now. Totally, absolutely, 100%. And so it's a thing that we are both working with in past, future, and present, all together in the same time. But yeah, definitely real. We are at the stage, thank you, Ms. MTB. We are at that stage on Earth in which all of those things are present. The many aspects of self, the past, present, and future dynamics in relationships, even what some people call, the frequency of ascended masters and historical beings. We are at a stage on Earth in which many of us are not only holding on to those frequencies, but part of our journeys here are meant to bring many of the hallmark elements of those existences back, to be re-experienced, to be healed, to be put to use in new ways. And so, yeah, absolutely. Past life remembrance is probably one of the big key experiences during this life cycle on Earth. That doesn't necessarily mean that everyone is going to be tuning into it or grabbing onto it. For some people, there isn't a very great need to work with those areas. For some people, it's going to be a big chapter of their journey. But yeah, I hope it helps. Let's keep rolling. All right, we're just going to grab another person at random. Who's it going to be? I think it's going to be Trisha Quaylar. I don't even know if you're still here. That's the danger in grabbing people really high up on the on the comment stream. So who knows? Maybe you're not that high up. I just kind of grabbed your name. And actually, you gave us a really good question right underneath that, which I'm going to pull up in a second. Trisha Quaylar, thank you for showing up and asking this. Thank you. A very, very genuine and authentic question. For those of you assisting, Trisha Quaylar, and forgive me if I'm mispronouncing your last name. We'll just use Trisha. For those of you assisting Trisha in this body, in this life, we're just looking for advice and understanding as to how she can just further release and heal the wavelength of anger within her. Thank you, Trisha. I will begin to answer your question with a cheesy and vulnerable admission. I feel your anger, and kind of reminds me of me. It's like deep in there, and like like a fist inside there. I definitely feel you. And so yeah, thank you for bringing the authenticity. And I'll just be real, because once again, this is the year of authenticity here. It's also a thing that I also seek to heal within myself. And so for you though, which we're gonna, specifically for Trisha, how can she help heal this? What's going on? This anger. Oh, it's back. Look, lots of chaos, possible disconnection within our physical environment. This is the Five of Wands once again. And so what do we do when this shows up and we're trying to heal or activate or just clear up stuff in our world? We remove influences. We simplify our energetic and physical environment. We pull ourselves away from those that are trying to influence or insert themselves over us. We simplify, turn things down, and start to look at things from a new perspective. For some of us, that's a very applicable thing to do. And, be like, oh, yeah, cool. Well, that's it. I'm just going to change my perspective. Boom. And it's over. But for other people, maybe people like you and me, Trisha, that will have, and if you're wondering, where does that come from? What is that energy? It feels like a mix-up of ancestral rage. It feels like some kind of, Lord, okay, thank you. Here we go. Just physical body issues, generational rage, early childhood stuff. There's a very big, I shouldn't say very big, there's a noticeable, what we would call empathic filter that just feels generally close to the liver. We have a number of what we call empathic filters in the body where we will hold other people's energy. And just it feels like a bunch of that's gathered up over on the right side of the body next to the liver, which for many of us, honestly, if there's energy stuck there from past lives, if it's stuck there from other stages of our lives, we might have already dealt with it. It might have already been gone, but it's like you're still holding this big bubble of stuff. And so at certain stages of your journey, you know how you'll get a whiff of something and it's like, and like everything comes back, and you definitely feel it. And so I would say learn to treat the liver. I'm going to give you a capsule phrase that we use in individual clearings, which for me, when I started using it, I would start to cry. I would have big emotions. I would just feel this like deep sort of angst that would rise. And what I learned, not from this capsule phrase, but just from my own connection with the energy body, is that's the energy of the liver. And the liver is a place where we hold self-punishment, rage, anger, resentment, annoyance, unacknowledgement, unworthiness, judgment against the self. In many cases, we'll just pick it up from other people, and it's like, oh, that's a familiar vibration here. Let me, and you'll just, you'll hold on to it, and you'll carry it. And for some of us, we'll get to stages, usually post 30, in which you will realize that all of that energy is built up in the body, and not everyone knows how to use it or how to release it. But it can be physically toxic, it can be emotionally toxic, and it can also be, honestly, for some of us, a liberating process of letting go of a piece of yourself wherein we'll just think that's how we are. Like, oh, that's just how I am, man. That's how I feel. This happens, therefore I do this. And so for me, learning to release the liver has been one of the things that has, I would say, allowed me to be more present in a public way without feeling judgmental and sort of, just hard on myself. And so to me, for me, Trisha, the liver was much more an organ of self-punishment. And so I still do, like we all have a lot of stuff, but for me, a lot of that was kind of held up within the liver. So if you're one of the people that's dealing with anger and rage, it doesn't matter who it's toward, you or other people, this is a capsule phrase that you can use. I'll write it in the comment first. There it goes. Ne yo va. And so before we move on, I'm actually gonna demonstrate it here. For those of you guys that have been hanging out for a while, you're used to me making weird sounds and saying strange things on these live streams. If you're one of the other people who just tuned in and you're like, this seems almost cool, what's gonna happen next? I'm gonna use a capsule phrase. It's like a mantra, and it's a vibrational tool that we use to release elements of stuck energy in our organs. And so here we go. For Trisha Quaylar and everyone else, if you're needing help with releasing anger, resentment, and self-punishment from your body, here we go. If you want, you can close your eyes or you can just receive, but let's take a deep breath in. Ne Ne yo va. For those of us that were here earlier, I think we did another one in the navel chakra, and it helps. It's kind of like helps a flower bloom. It helps a doorway open. It helps things start to flow. And so we're going to do it one more time. Once again, you guys, this is energy of the liver. And our mission here right now is to just release anger, self-punishment, resentment, judgment, long-running ancestral anger that hangs out in the body. And so if you want to do an extra layer, you can take either hand. It doesn't matter. And you're going to place it right over the liver. Where's your liver? It's right here underneath your right rib cage. It's a big one, and the liver sits higher than most people think. So your liver is actually a bit higher up in the body cavity. However, it gets enlarged and it will extend downward underneath the rib cage. It's also common, but when I connect with the liver, I'll take my hands and I'll put my fingers right at the edge of the rib cage right there. And it's like you grab on. And so grab onto your liver. Here we go. Grab on there. Feel the edge of your rib cage with your right hand's usually easiest. And so we're going to do that capsule phrase again. Everybody let your breath out. Take a deep breath in. Very good. When you're ready, afterward, just take your hand and scoop that energy out. Toss it to the side. Don't worry if it feels like you're just going through a gesture. You are. One that is very effective toward releasing and moving difficult energy and difficult emotions from the body. In fact, the more dedicated you can allow yourself to be when you reach in and pull that energy out, it's going to have a different effect. And so, anyway, thank you, Trisha Quaylar. Sorry that we spent so much time focusing on your anger question. And I sincerely hope that helps. Thanks for being here. Boom. All right, we're just going to grab another random person. I don't believe I've ever seen Troy Stengel before, and I don't know if you're still here. Maybe Troy's still here. We're just going to pull a card for Troy Stengel. One of the things I like to do, where if let's say if people aren't here, you're not in the chat, and I'll just pull a card for somebody that's not here. What I like to say is that I would say nearly every single one of these cards are also going to vibrate with and resonate with people who are going through something similar, something different. You'll hear the way I describe the energy of that card, and you'll wonder, well, I wonder if that has anything to do with me. Oh, well, he's reading for somebody else, so it must not be. No, actually, it is literally whoever needs to receive this energy. We may dedicate it toward a certain person and say, hey, this is for you, but other people are going to receive it. And if you feel that it applies to you, that is your guides and your energy and the higher self going, hey, this is about you. And so anyway, for Mr. Troy Stengel, thanks for being here. I hope this energy finds you well. For those of you assisting Troy, we're just looking for any guidance or just anything important as we move into the new year. Troy, the first, what I would call the most vibratory place within your body, or at least the one that sticks out in the moment, and it might be just because I'm very tuned into this area of energetic anatomy, but I felt your throat instantly. I felt throat and thymic chakra, which are right on top of each other. And one is primarily for expression and moving energy through the human bottleneck, and the other one is for kind of holding on to, discerning, using, releasing, transmitting emotions within the body. People call it your empathic energy, or two of the most empathic energy centers, the throat and the thymus or high heart chakra. Throat being here. Actually, I would put it right underneath for men, kind of right underneath the Adam's apple. For women, it's nearly the same place. It's just much more easily gauged on the male. But and then a little bit underneath, you'll find right underneath the collarbone, right as it starts there, you can imagine right underneath the tip of your lungs, you have the thymic chakra, which for empaths, I'll say it, for empaths like you, Troy Stengel, even if you just randomly stumbled in here and like, what the hell are you talking about? Really, for most of the people that show up in this live stream, it's a path of understanding you're an empath that's holding on to empathic energy. And so for the energy body perspective in 2022, if you can work with your throat and your thymic chakra, I think those will be just of assistance for you on the earth plane. We'll pull a card for you real quick here as well. And anyone else that needs to receive that. Troy Stengel. Ooh, thank you. Some tarot readers out there will cringe when I turn over a reversed card, but I don't do reversals. Sometimes my cards just get turned around. But anyway, Troy Stengel, thanks for showing up. And anyone else that needs to receive this energy, this is the Nine of Wands. What does a Nine of Wands do in your life, especially when it shows up at a time like this, the beginning of the year? It is a chapter of training, of preparation. It is a time in your life where you're getting ready to do a certain thing, usually physically. If you want to talk about past lives, every now and then, those are past life skills and abilities behind you. Sometimes there's skills and abilities and experiences from this life as well. But what happens when a Nine of Wands shows up, you're getting ready to launch, you're getting ready to act. And if you look at this guy, he looks like he's been working out, right? He looks like he's been, doing stuff. And when we really look close at him, you'll notice he kind of has a bandage on his head, and he's been a little bit banged up. And that's because we could say, maybe it's a factor for you, maybe not, Troy, but Nine of Wands is an indicator, if there was one, of past life energies, past life processes that'll show up again in this life. And, in many cases, the last time we did them, the last time we were involved in them, you can see it. It kind of kicked our ass. We got wounded. And so Nine of Wands is a chapter of correction. It is a chapter of improvement. It's a chapter of training in which you're being made ready to launch, to do a certain thing, whatever it could be. But anyway, for Troy Stengel, to me, that's a positive start to the beginning of the year. Look at the areas of your life in which you are training and ready to launch. The downfall of Nine of Wands, if there is a downfall, because there is, they all have a but. You guys in old school tarot, which a lot of people still do, they'll pull a sort of reversed card, and they'll be like, oh, well, that means it's the negative version of Nine of Wands. Doesn't have to. It really doesn't. For those who are actually reading energy and the sentient kind of flow of information that passes between, energy bodies on the earth plane, you will realize that there is never a need to overturn or to reverse a card in order for you to understand that it's the negative or the differently polarized version of it. In fact, for all those tarot readers out there that end up finding this, and granted, that like hardly anyone watches this channel, and so most of the ones that do are very real in their own right. So I'm not knocking your methods or the manner in which you read tarot, but I challenge people to stop using reversals. Don't ever turn a card over again. Read the energy of what shows up between you and that person and scry the information. It'll tell you at times, based on what you actually feel, what version of the Nine of Wands it is. In this case, I think for Troy Stengel, it's the version of Nine of Wands that's preparing you for the next stage of what's going to happen this year. Anyway, thank you. Thanks for showing up. Married Birdsong, what's up? She says, yeah, I never do reversals on tarot. What's weird? It's like I never really had a tarot teacher. There was really one person in this strange journey who just imprinted on me so incredibly hard. Like her methods and just the manner in which she connected with energy just imprinted on me on such a level that I have chosen to carry forward many of the understandings that I received during the time that I worked with her, in which she explained to me that people that are really reading energy, people that are actually looking at what's going on, you will never need a card turned over to help you understand that. And in fact, in many cases, those are things that will just happen due to simple error in the manner in which we handle an energy. It doesn't have anything to do with the fact that it's reversed. But for most of us, just upon peering into it, you're going to find a lot more than what we might call a reversal, quote unquote, of energy. In fact, using the reversal technique, I think in tarot actually limits people between, the good version and the bad version. It's like, oh, well, it's turned upright, so it must be positive. Oh, well, you received the Sun, which is a positive card, but it's reversed. So, it's the negative version. In my opinion, it definitely doesn't have to be that way. In fact, I think each individual card that you receive can be equal parts, both the light and the dark version of it. In fact, I think, we need to deliver both to give people a full understanding of just the nature of energy that they're interacting with. And anyway, thank you for being here, Married Birdsong. Not to not to put you on the spot with that comment, but I definitely feel you. I definitely feel you. Thank you, Moniac. Where did you study meanings, interpretations of tarot? Yes, you can have a reading. Well, we're going to do you, and then I think we're going to do hopeful art. I know there's other people watching, and your guys' names are up at the top of the chat, and you might feel like I'm skipping you. We're also going to get to other people just because that's where my eyes are in the moment. So don't feel bad if you want to put, say, give me another reading. It's totally cool. Hopefully we'll get to a few more people, but we're also doing a lot of questions, so we go back and forth. But anyway, Moniac, to answer your question, like I just said, man, sometimes this is a vulnerable and haphazard thing to say, but I have never read a tarot book. I have never taken a tarot class. When I started reading tarot, there was literally one day, I think maybe one day, in which I sat with a woman that was helping me at the time, and I wrote down on a little notepad maybe 50 out of 78 meanings of cards. And when I say I wrote the meaning, it was just me going, hey, what does this mean? Can you tell me what that card means? And I just wrote down a couple keywords. I would just write down 2 or 3 little words and just move on. And what she explained to me at that stage of my life was that I was going to be remembering something, that I already knew what it was, and that all I needed to do was show up and just do it. And for me, I could not understand that. I did not think that was possible. I had already, received a job literally at a store, and I was just starting professionally in this path. And I had never, ever, ever studied tarot. I had a tarot deck that somebody gave to me in 2012, and I did some readings on my own with it and freaked myself out and put them away and just didn't touch them for a while. And then 2015 happened 3 years later, and it was like something changed in my life. And so fast forward to 2017, and like I said, I just sat with a person and asked them some questions, and then the day came for me to start doing this, and I showed up and just started doing it. And I know that sounds fake and weird and impossible for some people, but I'm a living example of the phenomenon of remembering certain things. And so anyway, I hope that answers your question. Yes, we're gonna pull a card for you as well. I think that's why one of the things that I have been trying to sort of change or alter about the way that I present myself, whether it's as a teacher, which is not a thing that I ever planned to be. I don't think that any one of us can just sign up like, I'm going to sign up to be a spiritual, psychic, intuitive development teacher. It's not a thing that you sort of choose. I think it's a thing that some people will become. Some people are that. Some people remember that's what they are. I would like to think of the people that, work with us and do sessions and, connect with us in our training programs. These are not even necessarily students. These are people that are coming in so that we can help them remember. So I think many of us here, especially people on this live stream, you have an entire modality. You have lifetimes of knowledge within you. And we're also at a stage on Earth where, because we're in these new stages of awakening for many of us in our collective, that we're still at the stage in which we're sort of deifying and sort of holding people up and creating this sort of spiritual celebrity thing where it's like, that person can heal me, that person can, that person's the one, when the reality is we're sort of meant to remember that and discover it within ourselves. And anyway, Moniac's probably sitting there going, what the hell, dude? I thought we were going to do a reading. We are. Sorry. For those of you assisting Moniac in the year 2022, we're just looking for advice and understanding as we move forward in this new wavelength of communication, connection, and healing on the earth plane. What do we need to know? Moniac, you have received our first appearance of the Hermit. Who's the Hermit? Here's the reality. He is kind of a solo being. He is, I don't like to say always in tarot, but he's usually, most of the time, nearly always going into a path of self-discovery, a path of self-healing. The Hermit, his mission is to go within. If you're wondering, what do I do? There's some weird guy on a tarot live stream pulled the Hermit card for me. What do you do with that? You understand that our path is within. Our path is within self-discovery. Our path is sometimes within self-healing. Every now and then, the Hermit will show up in your life to tell you, the thing that you seek the most is in the place you least want to look. In fact, if you truly want to create change or receive healing or a new experience in this realm, the Hermit will have to be willing at certain stages to literally crawl into that crazy dark cave inside themselves and just sit there with all the really, really weird, dark, ugly things. And the hermit is very well equipped, excuse me, to do that. But not everyone will necessarily know when to go into the hermit stage, when to come out of the hermit stage. I would say for you, Moniak, as we enter 2022, you may be going into a hermit stage. You may be going into a path of self-discovery and just healing. You might also be coming out of it. That's going to be one of the stages where, you kind of have to look at the track record and the experiences of the last few months to give you a little bit more of an idea of where the hermit's showing up for you. I can say, to me, the hermit's a very useful character, not in the sense that he's super positive or super negative. He's not a good, bad, right, or wrong energy. Depending on the context of your question, he could be one of those moments where you're like, oh, I guess I'll be doing that myself. Or he could be a thing where you're like, oh, I guess I'm going in alone. Cool. And it's like, it's up to you to kind of decide. But he is a little bit energy center specific. Not all cards in tarot will kind of, vibrate with energetic anatomy. However, the hermit does, and he just exists and works with quite heavily with your solar plexus. Some people also call it the center of your being. I hope that helps. Anyway, thank you, Moniak. Thanks for showing up. We are going to do another one, and then we're going to skip up into the other people. Thank you, Hopeful Art. You've been hanging out for a while. I'd like a card, please, and thank you. I was wondering if my spirit guides have been sending me any guidance lately. I've been feeling really disconnected. Thanks again. Absolutely. For those of you assisting a Hopeful Art, we're just looking for any advice and understanding pertaining to the energy of their guides and just the manner of communication and just anything that she can do to just assist in clearing up whatever think. Oof. Okay, here we go. A Hopeful Art. So first off, it looks like you are actually receiving an ongoing wave of internal dialogue. Part of it is a mix-up of your own thoughts. Part of it is a mix-up of just kind of shadow elements of you. And then another part of it is a series of conversations that you've been having with yourself in your own private space that you do seem to question, or sort of sometimes you'll second guess it. And so one of the ways you can understand your spirit guide contacts right now is going to be through just your urges, through your guidance, through what you feel interested in, through the things that you're obsessed about. It's also going to be guiding you against certain things in your world that might not necessarily be in your greatest vibration. I would say, number one, lean into the internal dialogue. Continue to converse, continue to interact. As you just continue to hone that conversational element inside you, you're going to notice the quality of the transmissions and the energy that you share in that conversation that you have with yourself will change. There's going to be times in which there's a little bit of different elements of a voice. There's going to be a moment in which you will ask a question and you receive an answer so incredibly quickly that you'll realize you haven't even asked the question yet. To me, that's going to be indicative of just the moments in which you are in contact with those guides or those sentient energies that are around you. Secondly, another thing you can do is work directly with your crown chakra, just opening it, enhancing it, strengthening it, changing the diameter of the crown chakra. I would say even just in general, for those of you guys trying to understand or be in greater level of connection with spirit, the crown chakra is one of just the number one pathways that we will need to work with and learn how to open in order to facilitate those transmissions. Now, it's not that, with the crown chakra closed or in just a different layer of openness that you won't. You'll still get it. But for many of us, we'll be in a stage of second guessing or trying to understand what those signals are. So for you, work with the crown, understand that you are in a stage of internal dialogue with those guides in many cases. And this is just a thing that I say to a lot of people. So you're going to have to feel into the specificity of it. But in many cases, the thought forms, the urges, the desires, and even maybe something like this, when you were like, man, I don't know, I guess I'll click on that weird guy's live stream today. That's an example of you receiving a signal and going, oh, okay, I think I want to do this. When in reality, it's actually our guides going, oh, hey, maybe you should do this. And you'll be like, oh, I think I want to. And it's like, that's you following through with that communication and sort of It's not to mean that every single time that happens, it's a communication from spirit. Sometimes, you're hanging out in the evening and you're like, I want to eat ice cream. And it's like, is that a message from my guides? And, no, sometimes it's just because we're going to have ice cream. And I know that's a cheesy example, but sometimes it is just that. I also like to say, it's kind of a non sequitur, but sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. But anyway, we are going to pull a card for you. Oops, sorry, I pulled you off the screen there. Hopeful art before I even pulled your card. Or no, we did, right? Did we? Oh, see, this is what happens, you guys. I will lose track of people through this weird reading journey, and I'll be like, I pulled a card for you, but then I didn't. And so this is going to be either for you or anyone else that needs to receive it, because I think I am definitely in a fun brainwave moment. Boom, hopeful art and everybody else. What do we do in 2022? Well, yes, it's about authenticity, but we've also received a Six of Pentacles. What happens when a Six of Pentacles shows up in your life? You're being given authorization to fully invest yourself in a path, in a thing, in just whatever it is that you're doing, especially if it's a desire, especially if there's something that you have to be exchanged with the world. Six of Pentacles can be very lucrative for some people. It can be incredibly abundant. It can be a stage of your life where everyone out there wants the thing that you have. It can also be a stage of your life where certain people make a lot of money, or they'll spend a lot of money on the third density. Not that that has anything to do with you, but just for the sake of completeness. Six of Swords is a pretty good energy to have. It tells you that hopefully you're investing your energy in yourself in a really, really good place. There's Mary Byrne's song said it, abundance. Absolutely. What's the downside of Six of Pentacles, though? Because there is a downside every now and then. People will start to exchange something with the world and they'll get a bunch of a certain thing and then poof, it's gone. That's because one of the downfalls of the energy of Six of Pentacles is that it can very easily accumulate energy, but it also just as quickly squanders it. And the things that we gain with Six of Pentacles can be very, very easily wasted. And so as I awkwardly drew on myself on camera, we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Yes, you can literally ask me anything for real. It does not even have to be about spiritual stuff. I mean that sincerely. In fact, I kind of wish people would. I kind of wish people would. Seriously. Bye, Nora. Good to see you. Thank you for hanging out. We love you very sincerely. Thank you, MTB. I appreciate you hanging out. I mean that very sincerely. Thank you for hanging out. Rachel Neal, what's going on? I see you. We're going to do a quick reading for Rachel Neal. I saw you kind of drift by on the comment screen there. It's good to see your face again. I mean this sincerely. Good to see you again, Rachel Neal. We're just going to pull a card at the beginning of 2022 for Rachel Neal, who has been around a while, definitely. We've been on this ride for a few years together. It's good to see you come around here every now and again. For those of you assisting Rachel Neal, just any guidance or understanding as we enter the new year, anything important, let's keep it constructive, and just, anything that she'll need to know. We'll see it together. Here we go. Rachel Neal, you've received the Queen of Cups. She's a bit of a can of worms, but a very sovereign and just incredible being. One important thing here, I'm going to hide your little thing so we can see everything, but guys, what happens when a Queen of Cups shows up in our world, or if we receive a Queen of Cups, especially at the beginning of the year? One of the things we need to know about Queen of Cups is she is a master of her emotion. She's an incredibly emotional being. She can also be very reserved. She doesn't always show the world how she feels. But an important detail is she's grounded. She's grounded in a sense of self. She'll know certain things about herself that the world will second guess. She'll just know she can. She'll know this. She'll know that. She's very grounded in certain things. And one of her symbolic signs that show you that is that she's one of the only characters in the world of cups who's on dry land. So she shows up a little bit more grounded than everyone else. And so she does not get as influenced by emotions from the outside world. King of Cups, he can get tossed by the waves. Knight of Cups, he gets tossed by the waves out in the world. Queen of Cups, she's already on dry land, so she's already secured elements of self, but she's holding this cup, Rachel, and the thing is, we don't really know what's in it. We don't always know what's in it, and one of the problems with Queen of Cups is that She might not know what's in it. And so the whole mission of Queen of Cups, when we ask, well, what are we meant to do right now? She needs to understand what's really going on inside her. Not that it's bad or good, right or wrong. She just needs to take full stock and learn what is actually inside the cup that she carries. And furthermore, after that, she has to learn to share it with the world. She must unveil it. She must allow it to be seen. Otherwise, she will be influenced by what she holds on to forevermore. King of Cups, Knight of Cups, Page of Cups. Those guys, they get influenced by the outside world. Queen of Cups, she'll come to a different understanding within herself, and then she'll choose to share it. So what happens when she shows up? You may be on a path of self-discovery. You may be getting to know your emotional self on a much deeper level this year. You may also be called to release certain just things that you are holding within you that could impact the realm of cups in your life. And for those of you guys that are wondering, what the hell is the realm of cups? What's this guy talking about? What do the cups entail, or what do they involve? Matters of relationship, matters of emotion, matters of self-identity, the things that you hold within you, the way you define yourself in this world, and really what you choose to share. And so she's the queen of that. She's a queen. She's got it on lock. I mean, she's already grounded. She's in a really high level, but she'll be having a little something that she might need to like actually look what's in there. And so anyway, I hope that helps, Rachel Neal. It's good to see you. And thank you for hanging out in this strange timeline we're on. Oh, Onion Man's back. It's okay. You can ask a silly question. Please do. I mean that sincerely. We're stuck in the realm of tarot and multidimensionality, and I honestly do have like this wish that people would ask totally different, weird questions or really triggering ones. That would be cool. I'm also kind of joking when I say that, but who knows? Maybe it would be. I've never done an AMA before, and so I had this idea that people would come in and ask a bunch of really harsh things, which who knows, it might still happen. I don't know. Maybe we dispelled it in the beginning. We went through what's the word? Cathartic moment, letting go of a negative person's energy earlier. And so anyway, we're going to do a couple more readings. Hello, Uni Matrix. We haven't seen you before. How's it going? I don't know if you've been here. You probably already left because I think you asked a while ago, but I'd love a card, please. What do I have to heal to be able to speed the entity in my energy field on their way? I think she meant send the entity in their energy field on their way. Let's see what shows up. Thank you, Uni Matrix. Well, I want you to take this with a grain of salt, Uni Matrix. When I feel in to the statement referring to what we would call the entity in your energy field, the way it presents here in this moment is in what we might call thought form, as a thought form, which I am not one of those people that makes a business out of saying this is or isn't an entity or an implant or not. What I can tell you that it feels like in the moment is a thought form or a program that is running within the mental body, which can still absolutely be 100% spiritual or entity based, but it's also a little bit of a difference between a thing that is a sentient attachment and something that we could think of or consider like a piece of software that gets uploaded, or maybe malware on your computer that will influence or create certain conditions. In this case, it does feel like you have come in contact with some form of what we might call infestational or thought form based energy that does feel like it's primarily it feels like it's affecting emotional well-being. It feels like it has some sexual elements as well. And so forgive me if that's way out there, but I would say for you in learning to rid that, number one, it's a thing you absolutely can. Number two, this might seem like a weird way to do it, but you'll start with a heavy metal detox. That's a thing you'll be doing regardless in the meantime. But I would start working with the inner child and the emotional wounds within your body and allowing yourself to fully release, to fully emote, and to just fully speak about the weirdness, the bizarreness, even just the symptomology of what you would call this entity attachment. To me, by the sort of airing it out is going to create a fundamental shift in the way that we experience it. In some cases, that's something that will leave us within that moment, especially if it's a simple thought form. In other cases, there's going to be work, there's going to be energy work that you can do. I would say simply by raising the vibration of our body and our consciousness through connecting with things that are joyful, through which for some people is the worst cop out of all. When you're like, really, you want me to get rid of the entity I perceive by being joyful and, coming into a place of, or just trying to create a vibe of happiness in my world? Sounds cheesy, but it will absolutely help. Now, in some cases, people have a really real thing, and it's just very, very attached and very, kind of nestled within the layers of the energy body. In that case, there are still things we can do, but it nearly always begins with some form of internalized decision to begin a path of resistance, to begin a path in which you will start to consciously reject the symptomology and the energies of whatever that is. And anyway, I could rant on and on about it, Uni Matrix, but we're gonna pull a card for you. Just because a guy on YouTube Live wearing a really dumb hat says that that's the way it is does not mean that's the way it is. I'm very careful about saying that. Sometimes we're just talking and conversing and looking at surface level energy over a live stream, and then sometimes we are literally looking and naming and interacting with that energy. I think the best thing you can do is hold on to your understandings of what you believe it is and how it interacts with you, but also understand that within that you have a chance and you have an ability. Especially for those that come in contact with negative energies or entities or implantation, the fact that you can feel it, the fact that you're aware of it, this is a hidden detail that many people overlook. But the fact that you can feel it and are aware of it means that you can do something about it. Even if you don't know how, even if you don't know what it is, even if you have, it turns out it was this whole other thing. That's not the point. The point is that with awareness and sort of, taking stock of what's going on in your body, understand that if you can feel it, you can affect it. Which I want to be real, you guys, that also goes with psychic attacks. That also goes with any difficult interactions that you will have energetically, even if it's with very high vibrational, higher dimensional negative beings. This is just one of the foundational truths of living in our realm, is that it is a two-way energy street. So anyway, watch out. I'll continue to rant on that. Sorry, Uni Matrix. We'll pull a card for you real quick. Thank you, Uni Matrix. Whoa, nice. This is a very good sign. Uni Matrix, you have the strength. You absolutely can do this. What do you need to know about getting rid of this energy in your energy field? This is strength. Everyone's heard of it. What does it mean when it shows up? You can. It means you're strong enough. It means you're tough enough. It means that you have worked with elements of your energy enough to be able to handle this moment. You can imagine this woman's going to need to be really comfortable with herself to be able to hang out with that lion. Likewise, yes, we're being very metaphorical right now. Likewise, the lion's going to have to be pretty chill in order to, hang out with that woman. I know that's a cheesy, humorous way to say it, but strength denotes capability. It does not tell you, though, if it's true or not true. It doesn't tell you right or wrong, bad or good. And it doesn't care about that. It says you can. Anyway, thank you. Thank you, Uni Matrix. You definitely can. I hope this helps very, very sincerely. I hope it helps. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being a part of this strange New Year live stream. It's the first time I've ever worn a really dumb hat on a live stream, and we might do it again. For anyone, I know somebody was asking, what did the hat say? Here it is. Yeah, I don't know. It's just a thing that I have. So anyway, let's keep going. We're going to do a couple more questions. Ooh, here we go. Cassandra Fleski, how's it going? She says, are you a responding generator? Check it out. It turns out I actually am a generator. And I was one of those people who received a human design reading very, very early on in my journey. I received a human design reading from a person who was, just a big deal in our soul group at the time, and they were all human designed out. And I had a reading with that person, and what they explained to me was that I was a manifesting generator. They took my birth info and gave me this whole readout, and we had this whole talk. And I definitely vibed with it. Definitely made sense to me. I don't really remember the content of, you know, just that whole thing now, but I remember at the time, this person gave me, you know, just things like, this is what the manifesting generator can do, and this is what they don't do, and this is how you initiate, and this is, you know, it was a little bit restrictive, but it gave me a bit of a framework based on, you know, the information that, you know, presented in that reading, which I thought was cool from a, you know, a actionable intel standpoint. The human design reading that I received early on was pretty cool. And I believed it, and I held on to that information, and I acted accordingly for 5 years, maybe 4 years, I think. Until lo and behold, I ended up actually paying another person later on. I just, you know, I was like, I want to get a human design reading. That guy's really, really good. He's a popular person. He has his shit together. And so I went to another person to get a human design reading. And lo and behold, what did I discover? But that I was a different, you know, type. My typology was different. And actually, the first human design reading I had, they had reversed my birth time from PM to AM. And so in this, you know, in that case, it was like one of those moments where, you know, like the record stopped, and I was like, what? So you mean that wasn't true all along? And a lot of what I received in the second human design reading was completely opposite of the methods and the manner through which I had been living my life, with the understanding that I was within, you know, this manifesting generator thing. In fact, what I was told in that experience was that was essentially not really the manner in which I should be experiencing or moving forward in this life. In fact, that I was told that I needed to wait to respond. And so I know there's lots of ins and outs around the way people discern human design, but I have to be honest with you. I just kind of fundamentally reject some of the restrictions of the personality kind of typology that comes with human design. I think that for some of us, based on where you land within their, you know, their very limited kind of personality style spectrum range, you will either be taught that you are, you know, this really big deal, or you'll be taught that you're just a peon that is meant to, you know, respond to the flows of energy. I did not find human design to be an incredibly empowering modality, but I do think that it is a modality that can help people with a very real and applicable understanding of how to operate, or just where their energy is in this world. I will probably get another one in the future. I mean, I'm not anti that modality, but I'm one of the people who it was almost like I debunked certain elements of it by living as a different type for years. And what I found was that when I did those things that I was told I was not supposed to be able to do as a generator, that was actually when I had success. So it was like almost like by doing the things that I was told my personality type can't do, I actually proved that I could. And all the way down to the extent that to this very day, I still subscribe as whatever that is. Not that it's a big factor in my life, but it was just a thing where when I first read it, you know, and like received it, I was like, yeah, totally. I feel like that. That is how I operate. I don't even know what it was at the time, you guys. This was years ago. But it definitely left a taste in my mouth to then later on be told that that was all wrong. You know, and you're like, well, then what have I been doing this entire time as things in my life, you know, progressed and got better and healed and advanced? I'm doing the exact things that you say I should not be doing. And so, anyway, not to knock human design. I pray that you guys will get a human design reading. There are some really, really awesome human design readers that we know. People that I would go to, that I feel confident paying money, that they're going to give me a realistic, you know, idea of what that personality type entails, and, you know, how to work and operate, you know, within that vibration. There's lots of people. I know a few of them. It hasn't necessarily been a thing that I have grabbed onto in a substantial way. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, Cassandra Fileski. You opened the door for a strange and angular, rant. Heather Chip says, "Are you a projector?" No, I guess I'm a generator. I think my wife's a projector. I think she's a projector. I think. I don't know. Hello, Eternal Dreamer. Thanks for hanging out. We're gonna pull a card for you real quick. Thank you for being here. Yes, we are gonna do other readings, you guys. I know like dozens of people got skipped, and some of them are still hanging out. And it's okay if you put your name in the chat again, saying you want to read it. Totally cool. Totally cool. Please do. Please do. For Eternal Dreamer, what's going on? 2022. Oh, whoa, you got two things. Eternal Dreamer. You got two. And in the realm of old school tarot, other readers would see these and be all, what? Oh no. Actually, no, they wouldn't say, oh no, Eternal Dreamer, and anyone else who needs to receive this, but they would say, well, we have some, possibly polarizing energies approaching us in the new year. We'll start with the first one. The first one's the Two of Swords. Eternal Dreamer, when this shows up in your readings, every now and then we might find ourselves within a rock and a hard place at a stage in which it's difficult for us to understand what direction to go. Sometimes we might feel just a little bit out in the cold or alone or just kind of cut off from elements of guidance, or well, you can see just the symbolism. She's out there in the dark. Sometimes people with the Two of Swords might feel a bit cut off or alone or not a part of certain things. Like I said, they might not know how to proceed. There is an important detail, though, within the Two of Swords, especially when we shut down emotionally or energetically. That's a possibility, but this is really not a crisis energy. Why? Why is it not a crisis? Some people in tarot are like, Two of Swords, that's a big no. That can be a potentially difficult moment. It could be for a moment, right? Until we look closer and realize, well, wait a second, Eternal Dreamer, if that's you, you're holding two giant swords. Sure, you might be alone in this moment. Sure, you might not exactly know what's going on. You might not be able to see the truth. That's why you got that thing tied around your head. But you're not without help. You're not without tools. And so Two of Swords can be a very interesting and angular place to be in, which a person will feel stuck or unsure how to proceed. They must turn to the strengths that they have and understand that even if certain things feel eclipsed, invisible, or they're unable to do anything about it, the Two of Swords has incredible power once they start using it. So it's not an incredibly deep energy from the perspective that it sort of opens up this book of knowledge into our body. In many cases, it's a transactional energy that will show up and cause a change or a shift once we're willing to sort of create change or do anything about it. And so anyway, I don't want to drive down this crazy road with you too much, Eternal Dreamer, because you also have a Five of Pentacles, which is another one, you guys. People see it and they're all, oh man, Five of Pentacles, what? You got that homeless couple. What's going on with those guys? Because in many tarot decks, the artist will depict Five of Pentacles as something vaguely like this. What is this? This is the energy of lack. It's also the energy of your root chakra. And so when it shows up at the beginning of the year, it just tells us to understand the wealth of the things that we have and to understand that if we feel disconnected, if we feel not a part of, because that's a thing that happens to Five of Pentacles. And every now and then it could happen with a Two of Swords as well, because you won't necessarily realize the strengths that are available to you. The Five of Pentacles is a transitory, temporary state of being in which we will only feel what we don't have. And so Eternal Dreamer, sometimes we'll get weird, awkward pairs of cards and they'll have seemingly, difficult messages, but nothing about these guys is difficult. I would say, if anything, at the beginning of the year, with awareness and understanding that you are not without strength, that you are not without tools, even if things get weird, I think you're going to be very well equipped to really handle things and to move forward and to release blockages within the energy body or just within your path. That might be, that might have to do with early childhood or early childhood programming or just childhood things, elements of the root chakra, pre-age 6. Those are things that we would be healing when the Five of Pentacles rolls in. So anyway, I'm definitely ranting on that, Eternal Dreamer. Thank you for showing up and for asking for a card. I think it's going to be a very interesting year. And just in case you do come to that stage where you're like, what the hell do? I have no idea. The Two of Swords is there to remind you that you're holding two giant swords. What are swords in tarot? Power of energy, power of the voice, power of truth, power of self-expression, power within the way you present and project yourself to the world. That's the swords. And so you got a lot of power in that area. Anyway, watch out. I will keep ranting on that. I will keep ranting on that. Thank you. Thanks for showing up. Troy Stengel made it back. Yes, we did. We did a reading, and thank you. Yeah, see, I didn't know. Female, male, everyone has a different name. But anyway, yeah, there was a reading we did for you a little while ago. Maybe you'll find it. You can roll back on the live stream, like rewind it, and you'll find it. Cool. All right, we're going to grab somebody else. Ms. Liz White Swan says, I'm a supposedly rare type of manifesting generator. Can't find any info on it, so I lost interest. That's kind of how I felt too. It was like I did, I was told a few things and it made a lot of sense, and I sort of lived within that understanding, and I kind of lost interest. Yeah. So I feel you. Married says, I think you needed reverse psychology to prove who you really are. I probably did. A lot of things I do is through a strange, reversed quality. I will definitely sort of I will definitely self-deprecate, talk down to, or otherwise reverse certain things about myself to make them more palatable. So I think in this case, it would make sense that there would be a reverse element to that. But thank you. Let's keep going. Let's grab somebody else. If there are people still here waiting for readings, we are going to do some more readings. I'm just going to keep scrolling through until I find somebody. They were a while ago. There was a few back there. We're going to keep going. Oh, here's Nicole. Hello, Nicole. I'm loving this first time here. A reading would be awesome. Ms. Tully, thanks for hanging out. Even if this seems like a random moment in which you accidentally stumbled onto somebody's strange live stream on YouTube, who would have thought? But at the beginning of 2022, I think it's very helpful to just get a little bit of a viewpoint as to where we are going. For Nicole, the energy known as Nicole, as we enter 2022. Oh, you got a Queen of Cups again. Interesting. Another card fell out as well, which we're going to get to. Maybe you guys saw that. Another card came out, which we're going to bring in a moment. But anyway, Nicole, you got a Queen of Cups. And so we probably heard of her just a little while ago. There is a piece of self-identity or self-knowledge that I think you are due to receive this year. Just an understanding about yourself and what you're capable of. That's just a Queen of Cups trait. She comes to a greater level of understanding about the nature of herself before other people. She's incredibly grounded in her self-identity. Even if you're at the stage of your journey right now on Earth, Nicole, where that's changing, and there are many changes in self-identity, many personas that we will adopt. Queen of Cups is very settled in her. She knows who she is. She knows what she's capable of, but she does get influenced by what she holds within that cup. And so what's in that cup? It could be emotions, it could be experiences, it could be things that she hides from the world. Whatever they are, until she learns to reveal them and share them and take the veil off the cup and actually tell what's inside there, she will be influenced by them. She'll be affected by them. And so when the Queen of Cups shows up, just in general, and you're wondering, what am I meant to do? What's the path for Queen of Cups? It is in self-exploration and truly revealing our real, authentic self. Also, how we really feel. If you're trying to understand what just the basis of cups, it's how we feel about things. And so here's the other one that fell out for you. We're just going to stay on it for a moment. It's the Seven of Cups. For Nicole, Seven of Cups, I think we did see this earlier as well. Seven of Cups shows up at a stage of your life in which there are many possibilities around you. And they're all kind of symbolic on her card. You guys can see them. Other people need to get Seven of Cups as well. I can feel it. And so the whole thing with Seven of Cups is that each one of these will represent a possibility, an avenue of experience in your life, things that are going to happen or could happen. And you will invest your mental energy. You'll dream about them and think about them and just invest yourself in them. And after a while, maybe you'll get a little bit of each one, but you never get all of anything. In fact, Seven of Cups, once they're able to make up their mind as to what they really want, then they go into a whole new stage in which many of them start to get one cup at a time. And so you can sip from all of them and never get all of it, or you can choose one and truly embrace the next stage of persona or activation or whatever it is. So what do we do with what do we do with Seven of Cups? We make definitive, specific decisions as to what we want, what we're focused on. You got a lot of possibilities, though. So we must choose wisely. Choose wisely. Anyway, thank you, Nicole. I hope it helps. I hope that it helps. Hello, Rachel Murray. Thanks for hanging out. We'll do a quick reading for you. And keep going. For the mind-body-spirit complex known as Rachel Murray, or Rochelle. Sometimes that's a Rochelle, so sorry. I'm one of those people where like every now and then I'll massacre somebody's name, but it's not on purpose. So for Rachel Murray, feel your spleen. So what would that mean when someone says they feel their spleen? That's a place where we'll hold built up emotions that we will gather from other people. As we go through our journey, we'll sort of, just things will happen. We'll sort of have feelings and sort of reactions. And the spleen is one of the places that will kind of hold that for people. It'll hold other people's opinions, other people's ideas, other people's deep emotions, and you'll just kind of sit with it. And what happens with the spleen is that, yes, it affects your immunity. Yes, it affects your blood. Yes, it has a tremendous amount to do with what you're able to withstand and just a number of functions in the body. But multidimensionally, from an energetic perspective, it's an emotional processing chakra. It moves emotions through it. It's one of the reasons why when the spleen goes out or the spleen gets blocked up, people get depressed, they get slow, they get fluid buildup in their body, their immunity goes down. And so I'm not going to define you as any of those things. I'm just saying that as I feel into your energy, the spleen shows up. And so what would we do with the spleen? We would begin to emote. We would begin to emote. We would begin to express. It'll also affect your throat as well. But there's also a mantra that you can use to release and to improve emotional well-being. I think maybe we already did this one before, but this is for the spleen chakra. And yes, we're going to pull a card for you, Rachel Murray, but for anyone else that is also just dealing with a lot of other people's emotions, depressions, just heaviness within the body, fluid buildup, lack of immunity within the self, you can use this capsule phrase. I'm going to put it in the chat as well. Re, O. Boom, there it is. Da, re, o. That's a capsule phrase that we use to open the spleen. And so it's just as simple as going da, re, o. It's like a vibration that you'll hold and you'll just kind of repeat it. And why would we use that? It helps the spleen move energy, which coincidentally appears to move front to back or back to front. Yes, it has another myriad of other functions. When we're talking about energy and emotion that move through the body, at least myself, and I'm pretty sure other people have observed a directional quality of energy that moves through the spleen. Upon treating it or opening up and sort of, moving energy through the spleen, our emotional well-balance changes, our emotional well-being changes. It's fun because after about 3 hours, I'll start to mix up there. And strangely enough, we're right at the 3-hour mark. But for Rachel Murray, thank you for being here. We'll pull a quick card. Wow, repeats today, guys, which will happen. It will happen, sometimes for good reasons, sometimes for lazy reasons. But Rachel Murray, you have received strength, which isn't necessarily about any energetic anatomy, but it is about physical anatomy in your body. Where does strength go? It goes to your kidneys, which are incredibly important for people, using and enhancing and working with their strength, much more from a multidimensional or non-physical perspective. But yes, it's also physical, and it's also your physical kidneys. And but what is it really when it shows up in your timeline at the beginning of the year, Rachel Murray? It says you can handle this. It says you got it. It says you can. It says that you have done some work on yourself and you're at a new stage in terms of your capability. Or maybe you're not at a new stage, but you're at a stage of capability that you had to do a lot of work to get to. That's why you have strength. And so To me, it's a good omen. It doesn't tell you if you're doing the right thing or the wrong thing or, anything like that. It tells you that you can handle this. And so I hope that energy finds you well. Thanks for hanging out. Boom. Let's keep going. Thank you, L. Loren. Thank you, Susan Worthington. Oh, you guys can even hear it. See, the voice starts to change a little bit after a while. It starts to get a little bit raw. It's a thing. We get to about a 3-hour mark. Every now and then we go full David Wilcock, and it'll be like this 3.5, 4-hour thing, which we have done before. It's not always the best idea, but before we do a couple more readings, I'm going to bring back an announcement that we made right at the beginning of our journey on January 22nd. We are going to be doing the next wave of our Patreon group activation series, and that's on January 22nd at 1 p.m. Pacific and 4 p.m. Eastern. This month, my wife, Nora, is going to be doing an energy body activation and healing process of her own design, part of her process that she calls 120 Days of Light, in which she takes people through a process of just getting in touch with and kind of joining and learning to feel your energy body and what some people call the light body on just a much bigger level. And so for any of you guys that want to be involved in that process, you can join our Patreon group for $10. And I believe the link's somewhere in the chat, but that is on January 22nd of this month at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. And so please do join us if you guys are interested in just, receiving an additional layer of energy healing and kind of tuning the body to a different frequency of awareness. We've been going in this Patreon group now for well over a year, which maybe for some people is nothing. On the earth plane, a year is nothing. It goes by in a blink. But for those of us that are actively training and working and kind of enhancing and healing our energy, it's a pretty good run, and people are sticking around. And it has shown me that people value the work that we're doing in there, and so we continue. And this month, Nora is going to be coming in to do her thing. Likewise, I think in February and beyond, we're going to start bringing in more people, more guests, more stuff. It has the last few months of just our journey with moving across the country and just all the changes and stuff that has been happening. Haven't really done the voting within Patreon. We used to do votes on what people wanted to do, and it's been a little bit more hectic. One of the other things we do within that group is a thing that I call the Energy Body Intensive Course. And that's an additional meeting that we do. I think right now it's around the first week of the month. That's a meeting that we do on Sunday. It's a much more intensive process in which you guys are also hanging out with people in our multidimensional training group, and a couple other just guests that come in. And yeah, we have another one of those coming up, I think on January 30th. if you want to get technical, I think the next Energy Body Intensive is on January 30th. We're going to be deciding on the subject matter for that within our multidimensional training group, which meets next weekend as well. And so anyway, I'm just kind of talking through some of the events that we have coming up. For those of you guys that want to join us, thank you, Cassandra. Appreciate you very sincerely. Anyone wants to join us in the Blue Flame Collective. I am one of those people where, like, some people will come in and they'll just do one event with us. They will just show up one time. Don't feel bad about coming in and just paying for one event and then bouncing. Some people will stay and they'll be a part of the stuff we do and you'll want to be a part of it. Other people, they just want to come in and have an experience, and it's like, hey, yeah, totally, I'm going to do this guy's group and then I'm going to bounce. And that's totally cool. So trust me, I don't get hurt if people are like, I don't want to leave Matthew's group. Sometimes you'll just do a thing and then you'll come back. People actually come back all the time. So it's kind of one of those things where I stopped tripping out about it. But please do join us. If you're in the neighborhood, there's some really cool stuff happening. And so, yeah, I think we were going to do another reading. I think we are. We have passed the 3-hour mark. So at this stage, it's just pure mania. It's just pure mania. Who knows? Let me know if you guys have any other questions in the meantime. We're going to search for somebody to do a reading for. And let me know. Thank you, Lycretia. Find your energy and authenticity better than David Wilcock. Thank you. I actually love David. I still watch him. I do, very sincerely. I think I consider it kind of more entertainment now, which I think is an appropriate thing to do. It's more for the entertainment value, but yeah, no, I love his work. Here we go. Here's somebody, Starflower Grass Rock. Thanks for showing up. Maybe you're still here, maybe not. But for Starflower Grass Rock and anyone else that needs to receive this right now. I know there's other people that put your name up in the chat a while ago. You can still put it in again. We're probably going to do a couple more before we go, but I do want to apologize. I tend to stay localized to one area within a reasonable scrolling distance, and so don't feel bad if you want to put your name in again. It's all good. In the meantime, Starflower Grass Rock. We're going to really shuffle the cards. As a professional reader that does this pretty much every day for better or worse, I'm one of those people that doesn't get a lot of repeat energy cards, meaning that I tend to mix up the energy to the extent that if it is called to come back, it will come back. But every once in a while, themes will roll through. I think we saw a lot of Queen of Cups today. We saw somebody else a couple times. The Five of Wands rolled in a couple times. I think there was another one that came back in a few different places. But anyway, here we go. For Starflower Grass Rock, we're going to see it together. I wonder who's going to show up for you today. Oh, see, this guy's been here before too. Starflower Grass Rock, he got the Hangman. He rode back into our life to tell us, at least as we start 2022, just be aware of ways in which you might be keeping yourself small. Be aware of ways in which you might be hitching yourself to maybe some old ideas that might not serve you anymore. The story of the Hangman is really cool because the reality is he's not hung. He's not in danger. He's actually holding himself in a position. He's holding himself in a place that's, honestly, it sounds cheesy, but it's just not really serving him. He never dies. Nothing bad happens to him. He just remains in a version of himself, which I know there's lots of glare. Maybe I should go this side. Is this better? Is it better over here? It's not. Sort of. It kind of is. Anyway, once the Hangman, or those who receive the Hangman, are willing to let go of their old ideas about what they believe you're capable of, and it's not that you will believe that you are capable of more than you are. The Hangman's the opposite. We will be keeping ourselves small and stuck in some way. It's not a deadly way. It's not a tragic way. But for some reason, you'll just stay there. And so Hangman lets go of their old ideas. You're willing to take a leap and to define yourself in new ways, to let go of certain things and to redefine your capability. In many cases, we receive a release from long-running states of being in our life. And so I hope that finds you well. I hope that you receive that. I hope that there are some cool moments coming up for you this year. Well, I know there are, but anyway, thanks for being here. We have another one. Thank you, Heather Gruber. I see you. What type of light work am I meant to do? That's a good question. I'm gonna, and here's the thing. I'm gonna start by. Sorry, as I'm like drooling on myself. I'm gonna start with a bit of a cheap answer, and I mean this sincerely. So, it's not in a flippant way, but what do you want to do? What type of light work would you want to do? If it was if we were entering the stage in the movie, Heather Gruber, where some strange man knocks on your door, one afternoon, a Saturday afternoon, this door knocks and there's this man standing there and he's like, Heather Gruber, I'm from, the Alliance or whatever you want to call it. We need you. Your service is needed. Your abilities are needed. You have a purpose in this realm. What would you do? What would you want to be? How would you want to be of service? Treat it like it's a movie. Treat it like it's a fairy tale. For some people, they'll be like, what? What do you mean? What? That's how it goes? Honestly, we have been given full authorization to create. You have a very fertile ground for creation within our own energy body, and that's your imagination. It's a place where we connect with spirit. It's a place where we receive inspiration. It's the place where we go to build and create timelines. And so my answer is, start out by choosing and feeling what you really want to do. What do you want to feel like? What ways in which would you like to be of service? It doesn't necessarily mean that that's the exact thing that you're going to do. What it will do, though, is give you an idea, not only of what you might have done in past lives, it might give you an idea of what you're capable. It might give you little pieces or elements on that roadmap to figuring out, Heather's path, or like Heather's chosen modality. I would say, as a person that does this professionally, mine changes dramatically. Constantly, I think, oh yeah, I'm going to be doing this, I'm going to be doing that, and then it will fundamentally change. It's constantly being redefined. And I would say, in the very beginning, one of the greatest things we can do is choose the way in which we would want to be of service and to begin to act accordingly. Yes, that will change, and maybe in some cases it won't, but I think we do get a choice. Anyway, sorry to rant on that, Heather. We're also going to pull a card, which, every now and then will tell us some very tangible and real and useful things, and every now and then it'll sort of put the ball back in your court, but we'll see. Let's see what shows up. Thanks for hanging out. For those of you assisting Heather Gruber, we're just looking for advice and understanding pertaining to the stage of mission activation, or any just applicable elements of just areas of duty or service in which she could be of use. What do we need to know? Okay. Ooh. Every now and then we get real answers. All right, Heather Gruber, you have received an appearance of somebody who's been here earlier. And here's the crazy thing. She kind of answers your question. Not in a specific way, but in my opinion, a tangible way. And so we ask the question of, what type of light work am I meant to do? Well, the Page of Cups, for those who don't know, and you might have heard me talk about it earlier, this is the #1 empath. She feels everyone's emotions. She feels everyone's energy. She feels what's going on around her. She is oftentimes a healer, but she might not be a physical healer. She might not be one of those people that, takes implants out of people. She might not be a shaman, but you know what she is? She's a person that works with the emotional body. She's a person that creates. She's a person that helps people learn how to release, enhance, and work with the emotional currents and the energies that are within us. She's also a being that must learn how to renew herself, to reinvent herself over and over and over again. Some of you guys heard me say it earlier. That's why she has a very small cup. Why does she have a little cup? Because she's constantly filling it up and sharing it and pouring it out and consuming it and using it and refilling it over and over and over again. But also, and I mean this sincerely and not in some cheesy, dumb way, but also, what's another thing about Page of Cups? Well, she can only handle so much shit in this world, and it's because her cup is small, and so she has to constantly refill it, constantly renew herself. And so people with this energy are going to change a lot. They're going to be moving through many different stages of themselves. You're going to have a lot of different types of light work, we could call it, that you're going to do with the Page of Cups. But here's the thing. It's not so much about the specifics. It's not so much about the, I'm doing this exact thing. It's about the fact that she works within the realm of emotions, of emotional release, of empathic energy. She's probably the most, she's one of the most psychic, but she's definitely the biggest empath in the entire group. And so what does she do with the energy that she discovers and works with, that renews, that she gathers, consumes, and shares with others? She creates with it. You guys can see probably she's got this little art palette. And that's because she's meant to create something, sometimes on behalf of others. Some people could be intuitive artists. If you were looking for kind of a more, straight up, like, here's a thing maybe you could experiment with and do, she might be an intuitive artist. But whatever it is, she's meant to create with the information that she receives and interacts with. Some cases writing, some cases visual art, some cases singing, some cases she's a speaker. Whatever it is, she creates something with what she gathers. And so secondly, on that, Heather Gruber, you have a Knight of Pentacles, which we won't dwell on too much because he's not going to tell you what your mission is. He definitely doesn't tell you that. But he tells you a couple of things. You're holding something of great value, something that you often inherit, something that you'll come in with that actually makes you very prepared. That's the story of Knight of Pentacles. He's the #1 most protected and shielded being in all of tarot. Things that will kill a Knight of Pentacles, will, or kill other people, Knight of Pentacles will just ding, Oh, you know, it's nothing. It's nothing to Knight of Pentacles. Well, he doesn't tell you what you're doing, though. He does tell you one thing. Here, I'm going to take your message off the screen so we can see. He does tell you one thing, Heather Gruber, and I mean this lovingly, not in a look at you way sort of way, but Knight of Pentacles, we must notice he's not actually doing anything with what he's holding on to. Yeah, I know, it's just a static image, but it's symbolic, and he's all dressed up with nowhere to go. And one of the reasons for that is, Heather Gruber, because Knight of Pentacles must self-initiate. In fact, it's one of the downfalls of Pentacles. They generally stay put until something happens. And so Knight of Pentacles has an ability to self-initiate into certain things. And so on, you know, another level, you could take that as, well, I have authorization to choose what I want to do. Sure, you could. You absolutely can, with an understanding that you inherited something of great use. The problem is, people with Knight of Pentacles energy might be the most prepared to do the thing they want to do, but they will be waiting for someone to ask them, waiting for someone to offer, waiting for someone to choose them. And the sad truth about Knight of Pentacles is they won't. They just don't. Knight of Pentacles doesn't get chosen. They don't get asked. You know, no one looks up there and says, whoa, look at you. You're ready for that thing. Come down here and join us. Why does that happen? Knight of Pentacles is the most prepared for the job or the task. He doesn't tell you what it is. But for some people, they get triggered by Knight of Pentacles. Some people see Knight of Pentacles and they're like, well, you think you got it all together. Look at that guy over there, whoever that is. And they will see something within you that at times will trigger them. It'll trigger you. Knight of Pentacles holds some of the greatest power in the whole hierarchy of tarot. But the problem is they'll be waiting for other people to acknowledge it when their actual job is to self-initiate, to self-start, to be like, I'm going down there and I'm going to do that thing. Knight of Pentacles is all dressed up and ready. He's got everything he needs, but nobody chooses him. Maybe that's been you, Heather Gruber. Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm just spinning in a weird, you know, multi-dimensional tarot realm. Maybe other people receive that. To me, it's a good thing to have. It gives you a big choice. We know one thing, you're going to be very empathic in working with the frequency of emotion. I also have a lot of Knight of Pentacles energy. A lot of us are the kid that never gets picked. I still literally deal with that now. It's a very interesting thing. Still, you know, like within our 40s, we're still dealing with a lot of those things. And, you know, for me, it shows up in different ways. I'm trying to get on conferences and to do people's shows and things. And as I put myself out there more and more and more, it's fun, and every now and then it works, but I tend to be one of those people that gets utterly ignored, completely passed over. I have done conferences, you guys, I'm not going to name the conferences, you know, but I have done conferences where, you know, we you know, that are pay to play, mind you. We got to pay like $1,200 just to present at this conference. And I've shown up to those things and it's like, they didn't even have me on the list. They didn't even know who I was. They didn't know, like, what, who are you? Oh, you did. And so that has been a thing that has followed me a lot throughout this awakening journey. It's almost like an invisibility spell. A lot of other people have it as well. The cool thing is, you know, maybe for me, or maybe the difficult thing is that we're starting a stage of activity here on the earth plane, especially in 2022. Not that it's specifically about 2022 as a static year. This is a stage that could happen for other people years ago, and it will also happen later on. But it's the stage in which, you know, we are going to be forced. Well, I shouldn't say forced, but it's a stage in which we have to choose ourselves, and we have to step up on a larger level. In fact, you know, a lot of us right now are waiting for all these changes. We're waiting for, you know, well, when's this going to happen? When's that going to happen? When's this thing going to take place? When are we going to stop having to do that? And, you know, I don't, you know, mean to go on another, you know, rant about this, but it ends when many of us begin to stand up and say, I have something of value to offer. And even though I have not been embraced in the way that I am seeking, I'm ready to put it out there. I'm ready to put it out there and show up and do the thing. And for a lot of us right now, that will show up in a very different way. It's not always a public thing. It's not always, you know, in a way that the world sees. Some of us are meant to be those secret operatives, but for many of us right now, 2022 marks the stage of the journey in which, you know, a lot of us are going to be rising to a different level. And likewise, also a lot of things are going to be revealed in terms of what is that actual person's vibration. A lot of people that are sort of positioned in just a little bit higher kind of, framework within our soul group right now, well, the cracks are going to show. In fact, they're already showing. And I think that's one of the fun things about, I think, 2022 and beyond, is that we're coming to a stage in the journey where everybody's cracks are going to show, and all is known, and all is available. And so it's kind of one of the hallmarks of the chapter within the lower octaves of fourth density, when we start to experience telepathy, and we start to like very, very strongly interact on a much more non-physical way. It's like everything is known. For a lot of you guys that will come into chat rooms or lives like this, and you will see the dialogue going by in the chat, and you can go to like other people's shows or other people's live streams, and you will get a very different vibe from the very simple interactions that you see in there. It's like you will start to perceive a whole other layer of information that comes with just those simple words and those phrases. And this is the time we're entering that stage on Earth in this year, in which you're going to be getting so much of that it's going to show you who people really are. It's also going to show you who you are. It's going to show you the ways in which we put people on pedestals within our community. And it's also going to show us that a lot of the real shaman, the real healers, the real trigger pullers in the multidimensional realms, it's us. It's the ones that are down here in the trenches doing it and living it on a daily basis. You will find that those who are actually doing it, they don't really have that much time to show up and dress up as the thing and put on the robe, and they don't have time to do those things, because they're actually out there doing the job and living the mission, and they're literally being it. And I think I tried to make that my choice in the very, very beginning. I made a choice very early on in this strange journey, like I would rather be real than famous. And I saw a lot of other people that started right around the same time as me, that got really, really sucked in by this sort of spiritual celebrity. There's nothing wrong with it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it at all. But I think for those of us who came into this spiritual collective, those who are here to be a part of this, and it's such a buzzword now, this ascension process, this great dimensional shift, we're at the stage now in which that work's getting much bigger, and it's getting much greater. And in order for us to actually fulfill and to complete this mission, and yes, it sounds so cheesy, get ready, cringe statement. In order for us to actually liberate this planet, we have to show up and start demonstrating that version of ourselves, the version of you that never got picked, that never got recognized. That one, that's the one the world needs. And so anyway, watch out, guys. I'll keep going on and on. You can hear my voice is getting raw, right? Totally. 3 hours and 22 minutes. Totally. This is going to be a fun year, you guys. We're going to do yes, we are going to do a couple more readings. Miranda Anderson, good to see you. 3 hours, totally. Gives me good vibes to focus on while going about my day. Cool, thank you. There were some harsh vibes at the beginning, Miranda. Like if you're one of the people that goes back and if you go back and watch the beginning of this live stream, like I walked in the door getting really raw. We told somebody to fuck off from the very start. It was definitely warranted, but it'll be a fun journey. But anyway, yeah, thank you. It'll be a good 3.5 hour long journey. Okay, yes, we are going to do more cards. Thank you. Heather Chip, what's going on? What's going on, Heather Chip? I'd like a card for some guidance with work situation. Yes. Now, Heather, if we were doing a real reading, I would say, tell me more about your work situation. Give us a little bit of that energy. Let me know how it's going. So it helps us make a little bit more of an educated understanding as to where the energy is going. That said, we don't necessarily have that opportunity, so take it with a grain of salt. For those of you assisting Heather on the Earth plane, we're just looking for advice and understanding pertaining to what she refers to as the work situation. What do we need to do? What do we not need to do? What does she need to know? Heather Chip. Wow. Yeah. See, I want to call you by your whole name. But anyway, Heather Chip. Thank you. You have received a Four of Swords, the first time it's appeared today, which is it's definitely an answer. Sometimes they don't give us a real answer and we got to kind of look at the symbolism. But here's the thing. Four of Swords is kind of an answer from the perspective of this. Here's what happens when a Four of Swords shows up in your life, Heather. I don't mean this in a cheesy way. I'm going to give you a demonstration. You'll be asking all kinds of questions. You'll be wondering. You'll be waiting. Sometimes you'll be fighting, and there's all this activity going on, and then Four of Swords comes in, and this happens. Nothing. Like nothing. Sorry to do a cheesy demonstration. Four of Swords is a period in which generally just silence. Something is meant to pause. Something is meant to stop. Depending on what's going on with your work, who knows? It could be chaos. If it's chaos, that could be a time in which everything's very chill and it stops. Now, here's the problem. Oh, and I see your comment down there. I'm a massage therapist and it's getting weird. Okay, here's the cool thing. This could be the literal ends. All of a sudden, something just stops. We stop talking about it. Everyone shuts up and we just do a thing and, it's quiet. It does not mean there is a resolution. It doesn't mean anything's over. The Four of Swords is what we would call a temporary period of quiet or non-activity. If swords were getting swung around at work and it was getting weird, well, I hope you can see. It's probably blurry and full with glare, but all the swords are hung up. Important symbolism. Four of Swords is just, don't say anything. For some people, it's very, very difficult. Another version of Four of Swords, and this is not you, Heather. I'm just giving you an example. So don't assign this to you unless it's been a thing that's happening. In certain cases, Four of Swords could come in, and you'll be like, "Where's all the people? Where's everyone? We were doing this thing. We were doing all this work last month, and suddenly there's nobody here." Just in case that happens, it's temporary. We have to internalize Four of Swords is temporary. And it will be a temporary break, a temporary lull, a temporary silence in which we are meant to incubate, reevaluate, rest, restore ourselves. Sometimes we just chill and just stop talking for a while. And then later on, we pick them up again and we fight over it all over again. If it's a fight, Four of Swords could come back. But it's a pretty reliable lull. It's a lull in the action. Hope that helps. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. We're going to keep going. It's almost over, guys. Oh my God. How long will we keep going? We don't know. Well, we saw somebody else. Hello, Miranda Anderson. I don't know if you're still here, but are we doing cards? Yes, we've been doing them for a while, and you showed up right at the right time, right at the right moments. And so, Miranda Anderson, is there anything we need to work on, be made aware of in the coming year of 2022? Just any guidance, anything that she needs to know. Thank you, Miranda Anderson. Miranda Anderson, whoa, you got a Hierophant. Wow, dude, first time Hierophant is showing up today. I was actually hoping the Hierophant would show up earlier. With other people, because sometimes like when tarot, you'll see a person or you'll want to do a reading and you'll just pick up an energy for them and you're like Hierophant, and then the Hierophant doesn't show up and it's like sometimes that'll be me just looking for it. But Miranda Anderson, you got a Hierophant, and this is a complex character. This is a complex energy. When the Hierophant shows up in old school tarot, people could call it a control structure. They could call it spiritual authority. They could call it a sort of stifling control element from, the world of third density religion or other form of, just energy that's controlling. And in some cases, it's falsely spiritual. And it's not always a negative thing, but it's not always a positive thing. And that's one meaning of the Hierophant. When we go into multidimensional tarot, though, which, as a lot of you guys know, is kind of a slightly different supplementary offshoot modality of traditional tarot, when we go into multidimensional tarot, the Hierophant becomes something a bit different. Yes, it is still a spiritual authority. Yes, it is still the hand of God through man. Yes, it can still be cumbersome and limiting, or it can be liberating, or it can open doors for you and create miraculous change. But one of the ways you can understand it from a multidimensional perspective is a guidance indicator. Guidance from what we might call our spirit guides, from the higher self, from the forces that are around us that are attempting to assist us. The Hierophant is the notice that that energy is around you, but it's not always necessarily the most awesome thing you can have. In some cases, and here's the thing, Hierophant's not a tragic energy. It is not a damaging energy. It is never a negative energy, but it will either keep you kind of limited or it'll liberate you. And it doesn't do it in an explosive way. The Hierophant's a guidance indicator from the perspective that you will try to do certain things in your life. You'll try to create certain changes. You'll think, okay, should I do this or should I do that? And the Hierophant will show up. And you guys, a lot of people have heard me say this before. It's not like anyone ever says hell yes or hell no. It's nothing like that. The Hierophant never shouts at you. He answers your question before you even ask it. And it's the smallest voice inside your head and in your heart. He doesn't slam the door on you. He just kind of dries it up and he puts weird little roadblocks, and people don't respond to your texts and they don't respond to your messages. And it's nothing negative. It's just the Hierophant creates this sort of, or it'll just miraculously open a door. And if it's in alignment through a spiritual authority, it's like the Hierophant's kind of that hand from above that sort of reaches in and facilitates things. It'll move them around. It'll create openings within your energy field and just the path of, experience around you that will help you. And so it can either help you or it can stifle you. It doesn't create tragedy, though. And here's the thing, you can get in greater touch with it. And anyone else that needs to receive this, that vibrates with this energy, how do we get in touch with the Hierophant? Sounds cheesy, guys. Get ready. Through prayer and meditation. Prayer and meditation indicator. That's the Hierophant. It's actually really, really helpful, I think, for a lot of people. I get the Hierophant a lot. I also get the, you know who I get like more than anyone lately, you guys? I get the Emperor, which is weird because a lot of people get Emperor and they're like, what? What's that guy doing here? It's the energy of the father. It's like the energy of, masculinity, of an old world kind of, masculine connection that will be reinventing itself. And for me, that's not necessarily been a thing that I was seeking or wanted or was looking for, but it keeps showing up in my world over and over and over again. And so Hierophant's also one that keeps showing up in my world. And what do you do, guys, when you get Hierophant? Because a lot of people pull Hierophant, people that are trying to learn tarot, people that do readings, and you might not always understand what are they asking us to do. The way in which you'll find out is by entering a state of prayer and meditation and connecting with reverence with the spiritual energies around us, and then just simply listening. They will never shout at you. It's a weird thing. Thank you, Rachel Murray. She said, still small voice. I hope you were here for your reading earlier. Thank you for hanging out. Appreciate it. Oh, we got one more. A familiar face and name. Boom. Read Afraid. What's up? Good to see you. Very, very sincerely. Good to see you, Read Afraid. Hi, Matthew. I'd love a card of guidance on finally putting myself out there as an energy healer. Absolutely. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for putting yourself into the path of service. The fact that you are even thinking about that and talking about that right now at the beginning of 2022, to me is a sign that you have responded, you have heard that sort of collective frequency. Kind of like I was saying earlier, it's the moment where somebody knocks on your door and it's like, Read Afraid, this world needs you. We need you. Come into service. Come on back. You know what I mean? For a lot of us on the earth plane, it's like one last mission, one last job. Sounds cheesy. I know, I'm getting theatrical. At 3.5 hours, we start getting kind of theatrical and weird. Weirder than before. For those of you guys that are still here, sorry I have not been plugging this enough. We are going to do a drawing for subscribers. So if you're one of the people watching and you're not subscribed, please do subscribe and then put your name in the chat. Just put your name, and I'm going to be announcing the winner probably in the coming days. I don't know how to get a hold of people on YouTube, so I'm just going to announce it in a live stream in the coming days. It's a good way to force me to come back and do more lives, but it's also cool because somebody's going to win a reading or an energy clearing. It's just an hour-long session, and yeah, we're doing a giveaway of individual session today. Put your name in the chat, you guys, if you want to win. There's only 32 people here, so like the odds are really, really, really good. You know what I mean? Hardly anybody watches our live streams, therefore you can win. That said, before we pull a card for Rita, I do actually have a goal this year. I never talk about goals or things that I actually really want, but it sounds so dumb. I feel cheesy saying it. Here, Rita, I'm going to take you off the screen for a second so you don't feel embarrassed by my next statement. I actually do want to get to 5,000 subscribers on YouTube, and so if you're one of the randoms that's watching, consider subscribing. I am not a person that courts followers, and I don't really court numbers. I don't seek numbers, but it's just a personal goal that I would like to reach. Maybe I'll get on more shows if I have more followers. Early on, you guys, when I was trying to email people and asking them to be on their shows, I was literally told by one, I will never say their name. I was told by someone that, well, maybe if you had at least 5,000 people on YouTube, then, maybe you'd get noticed. And so you can see there's a little bit of a social wound in there for me where, we're trying to raise our numbers so we can be more available. The cool thing is we reach the right people anyway. I've never been one of those people that, for some reason, from the moment I started within this strange multi-dimensional realm, people have been showing up. Literally from the very first day that I began this journey. I don't know how, but to me, it was one of those signs that said that, from spirit, that they were like, yes, this is the thing you should be doing. And so hopefully this year, we might, we'll get up to 5,000 subscribers. I would also like to do more conferences. That's a thing that's been difficult for me. Once again, I don't know how to get into those things. Most everyone, it's like an insider's club, but we are working on it. We are getting there. And so anyway, Rita Frey, thanks for hanging out. Here we go. Hope you're doing well. I think you're still out there in Europe. I hope you're in Europe. I want to say that you were in Portugal the last time we talked, but hopefully I didn't just massacre your location. You're like, what are you talking about? I'm in Chicago. But anyway, last time, I think you were in Portugal. And so let's look for just any guidance for Rita surrounding stepping into just energy work on a greater level. What does it look like? What do we need to know? What's important? Be afraid. Ooh. Sometimes it's easier for me when I don't pull the card in front of everyone, because then I have a moment to react to it and kind of look at like what I am going to say about it or how it's going to go. And in this case, I don't even need to, because here it is. We have three things, Rita Frey. We're going to go really quick because we've been lingering for a long time, but 3 cards actually came out. The first one is honestly one of the best answers you could receive right now. It's a 10 of Cups. It is at the end of an era in which you are moving into a new chapter and a new state of being. You're gathering all the little elements of you that you've accumulated over the past 10 years or more of your life, pieces of your identity, just stuff, things that you might carry through this portal into the next chapter of activity. To me, this is a really beautiful stage of closure in your world in which you're going to move into something else. So if that something else right now feels like you doing energy work on a greater level and really putting yourself out there, take this as, well, I'll tell literally what it is. It's not like a sometimes it's this, sometimes it's not. 10 of Cups, you guys, in the world of multidimensional tarot, and we could even say old school tarot, it's a very happy ending. Sometimes that's overly simplistic for people, but it does kind of look like the credits at the end of the movie where everyone's happy and they're like, that is what it's intended to look like. So the time is now, Rita Frey. You're gathering a little bit of a whole bunch of modalities and a whole bunch of different people, elements of you that you've gathered over the past many years, and you're going to bring them forward into a new chapter of service. I mean that very sincerely. So I would say yes. Secondly, I'm just going to real quickly go through the other cards. I guess you're one of the people that gets 3 cards. But the second card, damn, it's like, does somebody want you to know that it's appropriate for you to do this? Are they shouting it at you, Rita Frey? Yes. You also have the Sun, which if you were planning on doing this a while ago and you didn't necessarily, take action, well, here it is. Here it is. This is your sign that the seed has been planted and it is now growing. And so the sun's very positive. It does come with a little bit of weirdness, I will say. It comes with a little bit of weirdness. The sun's probably one of the most positive energies you can get in tarot, but people that have it might overdo it. Sometimes you'll burn yourself out. That is a possibility with the sun, especially if we were going into something like energy work and suddenly you would just get a ton of, clients and stuff, and the sun will show up and you'll kind of overdo it and you'll just get a little bit too much, sometimes too fast. And here's the thing, the sun's not tragic. It's the life giver. People who know will be like, it's also a life taker. Yeah, it is. It'll also burn everything up. But I think when you're starting a chapter like this, Read Afraid, it's universally positive, provided you don't overdo it. And so anyway, yes, another yes for you. Finally, I know we've been doing even too many cards today for some people, but you also had Judgment, which for some people they get weird when this rolls in. But honestly, I think it's probably better than the Sun and the Ten of Cups for you right now, because the question is, what do I need to know about starting to do energy work on a greater level? And the Judgment is a forced transformation. Forced. Where you will go through a little bit of the ego death. I don't say that in a flippant way. It's just a thing that happens. A version of ourselves will come to pass. It will go away. Sometimes it can be semi-painful, but this is not physical judgment in the physical world. You'll be in judgment of you and what you've created and who you've been, and judgment will show up and it will force you to turn into something else. Some people will try to hold this off and they'll be like, man, I don't know. I don't think I can do this. And they'll wait and eventually judgment will come along, Rita, and they'll be like, hey, you've been holding on to that right now. And if you let it go, you're going to go into a whole new stage and you'll be like, I don't want, and the judgment comes through and they'll come here, rip, and they'll rip it away from you and it will force you to begin a path. It's one of the only, I wouldn't call it a mandatory energy, but it's one of the energies in tarot that when it shows up, it'll show up in a big way and you can try to avoid it. But I guess the reason why I'm ranting on this, Read Afraid, is because judgment will show up when people are going to make a life change. And you will find that conditions will be set up in your life so that you won't be able to do anything else. And that's the thing that you will do now. Judgment will create those sort of changes that are meant to happen. Other people will talk about judgment and cards like the Star, which is very different than judgment, but they both have a saying or kind of just a phrase that goes with them. Judgment doesn't happen to you. It happens for you. And so anyway, sorry to go on and on that, Read Afraid, but yeah, this is the perfect time for you to do this. I pray very sincerely that you will launch yourself full force into what you're doing. As a person that's felt your energy before, you'll do very, very well. So anyway, thank you. Thanks for hanging out. Hey, Matilda, how's it going? Good to see you. Good to see you. Thank you, Miranda Anderson. I appreciate you. Linda Brinka says, yeah, I really want to attend some conferences this year. Need to find more Soul Tribe. Right now, I think we're doing one. I think it's the Starseed Adventures one in May. Who knows? Maybe it'll still happen. I pray that it does. That's definitely coming up. There may be some links for that. I'm praying that there's a couple other ones. But yeah, it's coming in. We're going to be doing more stuff publicly. I think the other thing that I should probably talk about before we go is there's going to be a series of new interviews and some live streams that I'm actually going to be doing with people within our community that do just similar work as me. People that are sort of what I call kind of like, multi-dimensional trigger pullers, the ones in the trenches, the ones that are doing this work. And so we're going to be doing a few lives in the coming months with a few of those people. I don't know if I should name, any of them at this point. There's only 2 that I've talked to so far, but it will be kind of a fun and, weirdly triggering and somewhat zany experience in which we're just going to bring some people on and do some live streams and help you guys get another flavor, another frequency for you to begin to use and to work with and to also pick up in your own way. We've had a number of people in our chat here today, people like Nora from Nora Healings, people like Cassandra, one of our mods, people like a lot. There's a lot of other people that are sort of poised within our soul group that are doing this work on a huge level. Some of us are just doing this work in our world as moms, so it doesn't mean you need to be doing some massive shamanic, mystical thing, but many of us are poised to begin to step up and to activate and to just show the world what we're doing on a different level. And to me, I think that's one of the greatest things I can do, is to bring those people in and help you guys understand that this is a movement, it is a tribe, and it is a soul group of people that are activating on Earth in the year 2022. And so anyway, we'll be talking more about that later. Watch out, it's been almost 4 hours, so I'm probably in complete mania at this point, and I have no idea what I'm saying. That's not true at all. But anyway, thank you, Cassandra. Here's the link for Starseed Adventures in Sedona. That is a thing that is happening. I pray that it's still going on. Maybe we'll be there, hopefully. Anyway, I think there's going to be another one as well. But let me know if you guys have any more questions before we get out of here. Thank you, Rita Frade. I appreciate it. Believe it or not, that first session back in 2018 is why I'm actually starting today. Thank you for saying that, Rita. I mean that very sincerely, because I still remember that session as well. For real. Seriously, I remember that. And I think there's been like over 2,000 or something since then, maybe more. I think I stopped counting at a certain point when I think we had like, I want to say there was like 1,178 session recordings that I was holding on Zoom. I know at one point there was like 900 and something, and then I think when I finally stopped paying for all the storage of all the sessions that we had done, I think it was at 1,178, and it was like that. Yeah, that was months ago. So who knows? That was sometime. I think that was early 2021. Which is weird to think that you will spend that much time on Zoom. It's like, how did I spend 1,000 hours on Zoom? I don't know. It's a thing that happens, but and so yeah, the time is right for you to begin this path. It absolutely is. It is absolutely the right time on Earth. Anyways, you guys, before we get out of here, let me know if you have any other questions. Once again, you can join us on January 22nd, in which my wife Honora is going to be doing a really fun and unique just energy healing group activation in our Patreon group. You can also join our energy intensive class through Patreon as well. That's at the $20 tier level. And then likewise, you guys can always find me and book private sessions at rememberyourmission.com. Which is also due for a huge redesign as we go into 2022. So every time I click on my website, I'm like, well, it's talking about some 2000 or 2021 stuff. And so I need to put some updates on there, but we're going to be changing a few of the processes. And we're also starting, it sucks that I waited to the end of this 4-hour live stream to talk about it. The next wave of our multidimensional training group starts in, I believe, April. And so we are 3 months away from the next chapter of this strange journey, which I think as we go into group 3, not only are we going to be adding more people into this sort of multidimensional training group process, but we're also going to be changing just some of the processes and the ways and some of the group structure stuff. And my prayer is we're going to bring some new instructors and teachers and people into this training group to start teaching the, just additional layers of energy, additional layers of stuff. And so stay tuned for that. We're going to be talking more about it in the coming months. But yeah, thank you for supporting the work that we do. Thank you for tuning in. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please do so. We're going to be doing another live stream in the coming days. In which we announce the winner of the session from today. So you can still, before I click out of here, you can still put your name in there. All you have to do is subscribe and put your name in the chat. I will announce your name in the coming days. And so the odds are really good if you want to win. I think I saw maybe a dozen names go by. And so it is very, very possible that you can win this. And so thank you, Cassandra. Thanks for posting all those links. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for being here. Anyway, we're going to roll out. Please share this video. I don't even know if we ever made it on Facebook, but we'll be back in the coming days. In the meantime, my name is Matthew. You can find me at rememberyourmission.com. Thanks for hanging out with me for 4 hours today while I do readings wearing this stupid hat. For those of you guys that watched the beginning, of our live stream, you'll know why. In the meantime, stay real out there. We love you guys, and we'll see you in the coming days. Live from the School of Multidimensional Intuition in a strange little armpit area of Central Florida. We'll see you later. I love you guys. Stay out of trouble.